was an ambush.
How many did you save?
Just like a dream.
You did the only thing you could do. And you lost.
Like a dream.
Look, we're still in this thing.
The day you walked away.
But we have no idea what we're dealing with.
Unfortunate.
Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?
Boyd, we're out of food.
Too many things are changing here. I have to remember.
Remember what?
What's missing?
Nothing that I've been through is possible.
I think you're here for what's in the basement.
This place will not break us. We can still win. But the only way we go home is together.
Hello. Go. The game here is rigged. Why can't they leave us alone?
No matter what this place throws at us, we're gonna find our way home. Everybody just talks about how afraid they are of dying. Well, I don't think that's the worst thing that can happen to you here.
Hello?
Like a dream.
You looking for these?
Into my life.
You can't save them all.
But things are really hard days.
What's going on?
I want to catch one of those things.
Sorry, what?
You have no idea what I've been through, no idea what I have seen.
What if there's something wrong with the baby? I can't tell him how scared I am.
No matter what this place throws at us, we are going to find our way home.
Oh my God.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen, one and all? Welcome back to another edition of the Fromville Hour. And Season 3 is cooking right along in a very nice pace, but I feel like overall, this third episode, we definitely had a chance to kind of take our breath, catch a beat, survey the land, see what kind of storylines they're setting up for the rest of the season. It was definitely a little bit more of a setup episode, I feel, for what is going to be coming in episode 4 in particular, and probably 5 and 6 and 7, 8, and 9, 10. But I enjoyed it, though. I still enjoyed it. Definitely a little bit of the, probably the slowest episode of the season so far, but still had some really, really good scenes. And again, some interesting answers and set up some pretty fun things that I think we're going to look forward to in episode 4 in particular, as we have this dreaded nighttime arrival of the incoming ambulance. And of course, the return of Tabitha to Fromville. Only this time, she has brought a few friends with her. So welcome, everybody. We are going to dive into it tonight, talk a little bit about episode 3, and take a look ahead at what we can look forward to in episode 4, as we do have the awesome stills that they have recently dropped for episode 4, along with the trailer. So we are going to dive into a little bit of everything tonight. But welcome one, welcome all. Ravener, how you going, my friend?
Oh man, can't complain. Another day, another dollar, that kind of stuff, all that good, all those little sayings, whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah, this is definitely definitely moving the chess pieces into place, and we've seen this a dozen times in a dozen shows, and you can't run it full tilt. You can't run it full tilt the whole way through. You have to have the episode where you catch your breath, you basically just reset for another charge. And that, I think, is what we got here. And it's not like they didn't leave us something, because I mean, I think it caught everybody on their back foot, finding out that Tabitha is already back. I did not have that on my bingo card. I was thinking late in the season, if not cliffhanger, if not even season 4. I did not think that if you'd have told me that she'd be back by episode 4 and not season 4, I never would have guessed that.
No, I'm right there with you, man. And we actually talked a lot about this at length, you and I, before the season even started. I mean, we were really hoping at least that Tabitha would have a little bit of a longer journey in the real world, kind of a really tough and arduous adventure, of finding answers, uncovering more about Victor's family, finding out why the boy in white sent her there in the first place. And like you said, hopefully maybe have Tabitha return by the end of the season, or even push it to season 4 if you have to, if you really want to keep that thing going. And not only that, it really would make the reunion between Tabitha reuniting with Jim and her family, it makes that reunion that much more of a bigger payoff when you do have a long distance away from each other, a long time away from each other. Lost was famous for this. They would have these characters kind of split up early in a season, and they wouldn't even bring them back until 10, 20 episodes later sometimes. And the reunion, the payoff of that reunion always just felt way better because they were along for such an extended period of time. So no, I'm like you. I was definitely not expecting her to return this soon. I was expecting her to return at some point, but I was hoping it was going to be a little bit towards the end of season 3, or again, maybe even the beginning of season 4. But she is back. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of stuff is going to be happening now that she is introduced back to the town. How long has Tabitha gone? I think it's been 4 days. She mentions she was unconscious for 3 days in the hospital. And then she spent that one night overnight at Henry's, where Henry fell asleep on the couch, and apparently she stayed up all night looking at the drawings in the basement. So it seems like Tabitha was in the real world for around 4 days, and going on to the 5th day, as we are approaching nighttime right now, and she is seemingly back in Fromville as we see her approach the downed tree at the end of episode 3. So yeah, 3 days in the hospital when she was unconscious, a day and a half or so of her being awake and with Henry, and boom, now she is back. So yeah, a little bit quicker than I had hoped for. A little bit quicker than I had hoped for.
And the other thing is she brought zero info about. We thought at least if she's wandering around in the real world and figuring out a way. I mean, we thought she would figure out the way. Maybe it would be the bottle trees. Maybe it would be some other mechanism.
Yeah.
She would
bottle tree that they were heading to. I know a lot of people wanted to see that.
Yeah, something. She would at least come back. When she came back, she would at least have some understanding of the process, some understanding of how to replicate the travel to and from from Fromville without just it being completely random, completely unexpected. And we got exactly zilch of that. It's literally the ambulance stumbling right into a downed tree. Hey, what the hell is this? And we have no more information, no more knowledge about the process, the mechanics, the physics, the metaphysics, any of that. And I know some people were talking that maybe, just maybe, she might freak out and jump out of the ambulance and try to travel on foot past the tree just to see what happens. That's a theory, because I don't think we've seen Tabitha in the trailers and stuff of what we've been given.
We see one
in relation to the town at night, in the town at night.
Not the town at night. We just see her getting out of the ambulance down at the downed tree. She gets out of the ambulance and it looks like she's walking up towards the downed tree. But in terms of the actual town, no, we have no idea. Like you're right. Does she potentially take off on foot, and not get back in the ambulance? That's possible. Yeah.
But we also haven't seen Henry in any of the trailers in relation to the town, the nighttime scene with the monsters, and we're pretty sure that he didn't hop up and run off because he's laying there with the neck brace and everything. And
that's the thing, freaking Henry, we talked a little bit about this, in terms of Henry potentially having this long awaited reunion with his father, with his son Victor. I mean, I imagine, I wonder what Victor even thinks about his father, if he ever thinks about him, if he ever wonders if he's still alive in the real world, kind of thing. But a lot of us are wondering, are they going to get this kind of long awaited reunion? But as you mentioned, Henry's out. He's KO'd in the back of the ambulance. It doesn't look like he was conscious at all. Hopefully he does come to. I really hope Henry does not get killed off. I do want to see that reunion between him and Victor. But in terms of these EMTs, I feel like they got red shirt written all over their forehead. All over their forehead. The only two I know are going to survive, at least not know, but the only two that I really think are definitely going to survive are Tabitha and the female cop Acosta, just because we have seen Acosta in the other trailers in the town. So I do think the cop's going to make it. She was a brand new cast member that they announced super early on, like letting us know this is going to be a main cast member. But they also did that with Henry as well. Her and Henry were the only two additional new cast members added to the season this year. So I'm really hoping they both survived. But yeah, in terms of these EMTs, we know at least one of them is going to get it based on the trailer, but will they both end up getting it? I wouldn't be too surprised if both of these EMTs bite the dust.
And I am dying to see, I'm dying to see the reunion, because I could see Henry wanting nothing more than to see his boy after 40 years. And I can see the socially, mentally stunted Victor being like, why didn't you come for me? Being mad at him. Why didn't you come for me? Did you forget about me? That kind of stuff.
Okay, interesting.
That would be a twist. Not to say that not that that's even possible. He may not even make it out of. He might be. Henry might be splattered all over the inside of the ambulance within 10 seconds of the beginning of the episode. So there's no telling.
I hope.
I just like to think out. I just like to go down every possible permutation of how it could go. It could be a great reunion. They could embrace and make up for lost time, or it could be a contentious reunion where
bitter one.
Why didn't you come for me? Why didn't you look for me? And in Henry, in Victor's 10-year-old mind, I could see that happen the same way that he's mad at Ethan for giving him a dry marker. He's not applying. He's not applying extenuating circumstances to that. Well, that marker is probably sitting there in the storage for 38 years. It should be dry. You're lucky any of them worked. No. He ain't thinking about that.
At this point.
It was a bad gift.
It's a bad gift. But no, you're absolutely right. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of reaction Victor is going to have. It's so hard to predict how Victor is going to react to things, because he's so awkward. He reacts totally different to all different kind of things. He's down there in the caves at the beginning of season 2, and he's not even afraid of the monsters, really. But as soon as he sees that doll, he just freaks the freak out. So you never really know what's going to set Victor off. You never know what's going to trigger him. You don't know how he's going to react to some of these circumstances. So while us as the fans want to see this kind of heartfelt, nice reunion between father and son, I wouldn't be too surprised if they pull the rug out from under us and give us something a little bit different. So no, that is a good point that you make. But no, we're going to dive into it tonight, guys. And again, welcome one, welcome all. Looks like we already got a new member from Pie Diddley. Welcome, Pie Diddley, as a new member of the channel. So glad to have you, my friend. Welcome. Be sure to make use of all of the awesome custom From emojis we have down there. And if you have some requests for some new ones, definitely throw them in the comment sections after the stream. And welcome, my friend. I owe you a whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we're already handing out woes, and I love to see it. Sufflenny in the house for $2. Thank you so much for the support. Things make sense till I remember spiders plus teleportation. Right? It's one of those shows where, you have some aspects of it that are, very grounded and are kind of just rooted in more of the, human experience, how humans react to certain things. But then again, as you mentioned, then you got all this other weird shit that they're throwing at us, like these teleporting trees and freaking magic talismans and all of that. And I just love it. I love that it's a perfect blend of kind of everything that I personally really look forward to in TV shows or in storytelling in general, not just shows and movies, but just general storytelling. It has just about all of the aspects that I really look for in a story that I really get invested in. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. But before we get started, of course, I want to say hi to everybody in the chat. And then I am going to start off with a question for each and every one of you. And we are going to kick this thing off proper style like we usually do. But thank you so much for the $2. And I also owe you a whoa. Woes indeed. Woes indeed. All right, let's see who we got here in the chat. See, Riley's in the house. What is up? I see Robert Saunders in the building. I see my pal Quan Solar has made it. What is up, Quan? Good to see you. Got M in the house. What is up, M? What if the choice Boyd has to make is between Tabitha or some guy he doesn't know in a stretcher? Oof, very, very good point. That's right. From the synopsis, we do know that apparently Boyd is going to be forced to make some kind of tough decision upon new arrivals coming into the town. So yeah, this very well may be that episode. And what will that decision Boyd's going to have to make? Man, if he has to choose between one or the other, man, sorry, guy in the stretcher. Tabby is probably going to win Boyd's favor in that regard, I would imagine. But who knows? Boyd is one of those people where he really genuinely doesn't want to see anybody die, even red shirts. So yeah, we'll see what that decision is. We got Woodrow in the house. What is up, Woodrow? We got Delsenia. What is up, Delsenia? I see Elizabeth in the building as well. I see Jeremy, my fellow Jeremy, in the house. What is up, Jeremy? I see Henry Bemis is here. Welcome, everybody. Everybody in the house tonight. Love to see it. Love to see it. We got Marjoram in the house. Yeah, if they kill Henry off, what's the point? They better not. I mean, exactly. It seems like, and that's one of the things we're going to dive into here in a minute. What exactly was Tabitha's purpose in the real world? Why did the boy in white send her there? We got Mike Shriver in the house. What is up, Mike Shriver? We got the Garrett family in the building. What is up, Garrett family? I see Scarlet Fever as well. What is up, Scarlet? See All City Big Heck in the building as well. What is up, All City? I see Jackson Rains in the building. What is up, Jackson? See Yassine. What is up? Everybody's in the house tonight. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. Welcome one, welcome all. It's so glad to see all of you. So glad to see all. I try to listen, but the woes scare me.
Get ready, Michael Johnson, because there's another one. We got a gifted membership.
Yeah, looks like another woe is incoming, unfortunately. Yes, I'm sorry. Cover your ears, guys, because a woe is incoming, because we have Mike Shriver, who has just gifted another membership. Thank you so much, Mike, for your generosity, my friend, and very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. And I owe you a whoa.
You know, it's funny. I was watching watching in on the show. I wasn't participating on the Saturday show, but I was listening in on it while I was in the other room. Well, it was a little bit low volume. It was perfectly good when I was in the room, but I was like 2 rooms away, and I heard you play the "My Blood Is Your Blood" clip where Boyd cuts his hand and goes and then he puts it on Smiley. And all I heard was you going, and I was like, oh shit, Jeremy's having a heart attack on stream, because I didn't hear anything else. There's no other like talking. And I was like, what the hell's going on? I thought you were buying it live on the stream.
Yeah, I'm croaking it live on stream. What is that? That's a stream to remember. Shit. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Good stuff, one and all. What is up, baby Clay? Good to see you as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. See, the professor is in the house. What is up, professor? And this was a question I was wondering as well. I mean, it seems like this accident happened kind of in like a rural town area. It didn't seem like they were in back roads or anything. And you would think that they wouldn't have to travel to another town to go to a hospital, considering Tabitha woke up in a hospital in Camden, Maine. So yeah, why didn't the ambulance drivers notice going from an urban area to a woodsy one? Like they likely know the area and have GPS. You'd think they have noticed something wrong before even seeing the tree. And that's another thing. I mean, I doubt we'll ever get an explanation for that, but I mean, we do know that Henry and Tabitha were actually kind of traveling a few towns over to go to this other original bottle tree, apparently. And the only thing I'm thinking is maybe they got a few towns over, and at that point there was no other hospital in the area, so they maybe had to kind of turn around and go back to Camden, maybe through some kind of back road. But it's it was very weird to see the kind of surroundings that ambulance was in, considering they were en route to a hospital. So that did kind of pique my interest as well, and I was wondering what was going on there.
Yeah, and our photo sleuths definitively matched up the 4-digit number of the ambulance that's in Fromville to the one that was right out in front of the Camden Hospital when Tabby escapes. But yeah, they could have been in an entirely different town when they got in the accident. That's what I was guessing.
Maybe.
I mean, that's what I'm assuming. I don't even want to take credit for that as a theory, because I'm sure somebody else had to have extrapolated that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if they drove a certain distance to yet another very small town that doesn't have, outside
Hospital,
of
maybe.
where the ambulance served, that ambulance had to drive out to that other town, snatch them up, and then drive them back. And there must have been some rural stuff. Yeah,
Maybe.
that was the exact point that I made way back, was because I thought it all did happen in one town, and I was like, well, how? And I was calling it like the first urban transportation, because everybody, like, nobody mentioned a fallen tree in the road being something out of the ordinary. Now, in a town, a fallen tree across the only road would be noticeable. Somebody would take note of that, because it's so strange. If you're inside of an urban town, or even a small town, you would notice that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
clearly it's always in some stretch of road, that's forested on both sides, where it wouldn't be, it's not a usual occurrence, but it's also not completely out of context to the environment, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially where they are, Camden, Maine is a very, very small town. I imagine the neighboring towns that they were traveling to were also probably extremely small towns. So you can kind of make allowances, or at least suspend disbelief, every once in a while, for a scene like that, when you see the ambulance kind of in a back road like that, I guess. But another thing we did see is, something that we have been, guessing for a very long time, and something that we kind of got a little bit of confirmation this season, in terms of, there are multiple entrances into Fromville, and not only multiple entrances, everybody who gets stuck here seems to see a completely different tree and is on a completely different road. And it's very interesting. We always hear that, according to the people inside the town, once you see the tree, it's already too late. You're stuck at that point. Yet every tree is different, and every road that tree is on is completely different from the previous. And we've seen the differences between this tree that Tabitha sees at the end of episode 3, the tree that Tabitha and the Matthews family first see when they first arrive at the beginning of the series, which is a totally different tree to this one. And then we also see the tree that Boyd and his family see upon entering Fromville, which is, again, another different tree. So I think it is kind of leaning a little bit more into what Henry was talking about in episode 1, how Fromville is just one of these places that kind of exists everywhere, and you can kind of get pulled into it from anywhere, yet you can never find it physically, which, if nothing else, does kind of lean a little bit into freaking Dale's theory, of all people, that this could potentially be some kind of little pocket area, little pocket realm dimension, whatever you want to call it. Something where it's a whole vast space that exists just next or just on top of our own. But you kind of have to pierce the veil or find some weird kind of entrance to even get in there. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think Tabitha is going to have a lot of questions. She's going to be asked a lot of questions, I think, as to what exactly happened to her. And this is going to be interesting to see what exactly is Tabitha going to be willing to reveal. Because this is something that a lot of fans have been pointing out ever since kind of early season 2, that a lot of these characters don't seem to share a whole lot of personal details about some of the things that they go through with each other. And we see another example of this in the episode 4 trailer coming up, when Victor mentions the boy in white, and Sarah goes, the boy in white? It's like, geez, none of these fucking people ever communicate with each other. It's like Sarah is just finding out now that somebody else has actually seen this boy in white. So you start to wonder, how much will Tabitha divulge? And how much is she going to think was actually real? Because that was kind of her freak out there at the end of episode 3. She sees the bracelet and thinks, oh my God, I'm not really in Camden, Maine. I'm really in From the whole time. But I think since she is bringing new people into the town with her, that should probably confirm to her and to us as the audience that she definitely was in the real world. And now she's back in Fromville. Again, hence the new characters coming along with her. But that's going to be my first question for you guys in the chat, and for you, Ravener. What did you guys think about Tabitha's return? Did you think Tabitha returned a little bit too soon? Were you hoping that Tabitha was going to have a little bit longer of a journey before she got stuck in Fromville? Or are you perfectly satisfied with her already being back with Henry? What did you guys think about her return? Let me know. The poll is up. Cast your votes and let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. But yeah, I mean, did it feel it felt a little too soon for me. I just feel like it's maybe a small missed opportunity to have her go on a very interesting, grueling adventure in the real world.
Yeah, for me, I thought I was definitely surprised. I didn't really have any theories wrapped around it. I just thought there would be more time spent in quote unquote the real world. And we, prior to the season, when we saw her meeting Henry, when we saw her interacting with the priest, all this stuff, we'd all mentally made our own fanfic that was a lot more convoluted, a lot more involved, that would have taken a whole lot more time to develop that story. And it seemed like they really just kind of fast forwarded through it. She stumbles out of the hospital, sees the boy in white. He kind of like leads her and then vanishes. So then she's in that little farmer's market thing, little swap meet type deal. And then kind of, talks to her mom, and then it's kind of just had nothing more to do. She was like stuck out there. Where is she going? Give me some guidance. And then glances on the church, wanders over to the church, gets the little bit of exposition from the priest that pushes that story along, which hands her the Henry's address on a silver platter, and then goes directly, to Henry's house. That went super fast. And, it shouldn't have surprised me that they fast forwarded all the rest of it too. But it was funny though, they did develop, oh my gosh, here's a bottle tree, this is the tree that Miranda put the bottles in. She called it the bottle tree. Well, no shit, Henry, that's amazing. Yeah, that what a creative name for the tree that she put the bottles in. She called it the bottle tree. But man, Henry's just nothing but an exposition dump. All he does is have long-winded explanations of every single topic that anyone brings up. And early on, I had attributed it to him memorizing every word that Miranda said, because he missed her for 40 years and was trying to replicate that. But now it's just like, oh yeah, that's not the original one. The original one's a few towns over. And, and then because it's like, and maybe that one has a place where you could just walk right into it and travel to another dimension.
The big hole. Yeah.
But then that just the door was slammed on that whole idea, that whole train of thought. It was like, boom. Okay, well, all right.
That's what a lot of people are mentioning. I see them mentioning it here in the comment section tonight, and they were also mentioning it in the comment section for my breakdown video as well. A lot of people were really hoping that they were going to get to see this original bottle tree, especially the emphasis that Henry puts around it in terms of him saying that actually that was the tree where Miranda and I actually took that acid. So you could kind of say that tree is where all of this began. So hell yes, we all want to see that freaking tree. What the heck's going on in that park? Is that some kind of other doorway into Fromville, perhaps? Or is it just some random replica bottle tree? I feel like that is a tree that a lot of us really wanted to see. They set up a lot of foreshadowing for it, which makes me believe we will eventually return to that tree in that park at some point in the series later on down the road. For them to set it up that way and not give us that payoff a little bit down the road would be a little bit weird. So even though we did not see the original bottle tree yet, I get the feeling we will see it eventually, maybe when all of our people escape, or maybe if somebody else escapes at some other point, because I do think some other people might potentially get out, if not all of them, by the end of the series.
Okay. So you do think that tree is a real thing, and that Tabitha, when she was freaking out about it being just level 2 of Fromville, that Tabitha was wrong about that.
I think Tabitha was wrong about her not being in Camden, Maine. I think she was definitely in Camden, Maine. Again, I would question if Tabitha kind of got sucked back into Fromville alone, but seeing as she is coming back with this ambulance and she's bringing back all new characters with her from the real world, like this female cop Acosta, who we know is going to be in Fromville, that is kind of telling me that she was definitely in the real world. But yeah, I guess we're going to see what's going to happen with her. Is she going to kind of stay in this ambulance? Is she going to head into town with the rest of the ambulance and get this reunion between her and her family, or will something potentially else happen? I know Snuggy thinks that she might not actually be back yet, or fully back yet. And I know he's not alone. I know a few people have actually been, having similar thoughts that maybe she's not quite fully back. Maybe something else is going on. Some people are even bringing up that maybe she's back in Fromville, but it's a different time period. And I thought that was pretty interesting as well. I mean, we've always wondered, that vision that Tabitha gets at the end of season 1, when she first has the vision of the tower and she sees Jim strung up at the top of it. When that vision starts off, it looks like she's in the middle of Fromville in the street, just walking up the street, and it looks like the town is completely empty. She's got this weird look on her face, like she's kind of alone and doesn't really know what's going on. A lot of people thought that was going to be some kind of foreshadowing for her returning, and then when she returns, there's nobody in the town. It's an empty town, or it's a different time period. So who knows what's really going to happen with Tabitha?
I wanted to make that link, but she was wearing like a blue lightweight shirt, right? A summertime
Totally
shirt.
different
She wasn't
shirt,
wearing
yeah.
her homeless
Totally different
outfit.
shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I think personally, I guess we'll find out on Saturday night when this episode does come around. But I do think she is back in Fromville, and I think she is back in Fromville proper. She will be reunited with Jim and the rest of the town. I don't think she's in a different time period or anything like that. It's possible. But just for me personally, I do think she is back in normal Fromville and has brought some new guests along with her. But I guess the other question is, what exactly was the purpose for Tabitha's visit to the real world? I've been thinking about this a lot too, and I know a lot of you guys have. Why exactly did the boy in white send her to the real world? Was this her mission? Did she actually already complete her mission, not even realizing it? Was bringing Henry back to Fromville the main objective? For some reason, does the boy in white want the whole Kavanaugh family, or as much as the Kavanaugh family as he can get, into Fromville for some reason? Is there something special about Victor and his father and his family that the boy in white wants all of them inside for some reason? I don't know. You start to think that if Fromville itself, whatever is usually pulling these people into Fromville, if that force, whatever it was, wanted Henry in here, you'd think it would have been able to pull Henry in here at any point in time over the last 40, 50 years. Yet he hadn't been pulled in there. So that's starting to make me think maybe Fromville didn't want him in here. Maybe the boy in white specifically wanted Henry in here for some kind of reason. And, we still have no idea why the boy in white sent Tabitha there to begin with. Did she have some other kind of mission that she was supposed to solve? It's hard to tell, considering the boy in white gave her literally no information on why he sent her there. But I'm starting to think that maybe he sent her there just to bring Henry back, maybe.
Right. And he said it's the only way, but the only way for what? Yeah, we don't know the only way.
Exactly. The only way for what?
And this conspicuous, her whole visit there, not from Henry, not from anybody, not a peep about the name Eloise, which sent everybody's mind spinning. Everybody's mind except me, because I don't know. I'm not a adherent to the Tabitha is Eloise thing, but I know there's a ton of people that are, and they'll go at length telling you why. I think you believe that as well, right?
I don't believe it personally. I mean, and I thought I made this very clear in my video when I put it out, that I was just kind of exploring. I tried to say it a few times in the video. Maybe everybody didn't watch the whole video, which is totally cool. But no, that was just me kind of exploring the possibility, going down that rabbit hole to see where it led. Because when the whole Tabitha is Eloise theory first popped up, I thought it's very convoluted. There's really nothing to go on. It was really all hearsay and just kind of wish fulfillment. But as after seeing some of this, I feel like the connections between Tabitha and the Kavanaugh family are becoming completely undeniable. So while she may or may not be Eloise, is still up for debate. Again, a lot of it fits, except for the age discrepancy. She does seem to be maybe a little bit too young to be Eloise, just based on what we saw. And I know you mentioned that as well, and I do kind of agree with you that that's one of the big flaws in that theory. She just doesn't seem to be old enough. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, people can age at different rates, yes, but you would think that she doesn't look old enough to only be 2 or 3 years younger than Victor. So that's the kind of one big kind of flaw in that Eloise is Tabitha theory. But all of the other evidence pointing to her having some kind of very deep connection to the Kavanaugh family, that much I definitely believe. If she's not Eloise, and she might not be, I think she, at the very least, has some kind of very deep and strong connection to Victor and his family. And that hopefully will be revealed, as the season progresses. If she's not Eloise, what is this kind of connection she has to the Kavanaugh family? Because again, we're seeing all these kind of similarities, and you see 1 or 2 and you start to think, it's nothing. But when you see 3 like distinct connections like that, between the pen, the song, the bracelet, then you start to think, okay, there is some kind of connection there. So I don't know if Tabitha is Eloise, but I definitely think Tabitha has some kind of strong connection to the Victor family, and I'm hoping we find out what that connection is. A lot of people have been bringing up this idea of reincarnation, which I think is pretty interesting, actually. I mean, something I didn't really think of myself, but we have seen plenty of instances on the show where it seems like characters are kind of filling previous roles that other characters filled in previous timelines. Like Jade, for instance, we're seeing Jade is seeing the symbol, and I very much think that all of these people that Jade is seeing in his visions could potentially all be previous versions of people who also were plagued by this symbol. Like Christopher, we know Christopher saw the symbol before Jade, so it seems like Jade is kind of going down a similar road as Christopher did. Definitely seems like Tabitha is going down a very similar road as Miranda did, and some people were pointing to that in the case of maybe Tabitha is some kind of reincarnated version of Miranda, which is a pretty interesting way of thinking. I tend to think she's just the next chosen one in a long line of chosen ones, similar to Jade is the next chosen one in a long line of his chosen ones of the symbol. But what exactly is this connection that she is going to have to the Kavanaugh family? Again, I do think she'll have some kind of connection, but I'm just not quite sure what it is. But I did see a lot of people thought the reincarnation theory, a lot of people were talking about the reincarnation theory, and I thought that was an interesting one. I mean, I suppose it's as plausible as anything else we freaking heard.
Yeah,
But no.
you know, and I saw in our comment section on our previous show, and thank you guys for doing that too, because believe me, we read that stuff and respond to it. I saw somebody mentioning, well, wait, now there's 3 bracelets. There's the one that was in the glove box. There's the one that
Fucking
Jim
3
has.
now?
If
What the fuck?
that's if the one that Miranda was wearing was still on her body, and so that the one in the storehouse is not the same as the one that Miranda had on her. If it is the same, then there's still 2, but there's at least 2 now. We know
at least 2 now. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, what's going on with these freaking bracelets? Why are they being replicated? And a lot of people, even before this episode came up, you know, and I believe you had a similar kind of idea that maybe it was kind of pulled out of a memory, pulled out of a dream, which is very possible because we have seen not only 1 but 2 different instances on the show already where people's dreams or aspects of people's dreams can literally be pulled right into the real world, whether it's Kenny and the cicada getting burnt on his arm and then waking up with the burn, or Elgin getting pushed underwater in his dream, waking up spitting water in the real world. They're setting up a clear instance that things can be pulled out of people's dreams, and if that's the case, what's to say that things can't be pulled out of people's memories as well? And I think you were one of the early ones who kind of were talking about that in terms of that being a possibility for the bracelet. And again, it very well could be, but yeah, they got to explain it indefinitely. Like we need to get a definitive answer to this whole bracelet mystery, because yeah, it seems like there is at least 2, maybe even 3 running around if Tabitha did really lose hers at the hospital with her and Jim. So yeah, they really need to answer this. They got to answer this thing definitively, and I hope they have a good answer for it, and I'm sure they do.
Yeah, and there's a long discussion in the Discord about like the paradox of maybe Tabitha dreamed of Miranda's bracelet and subconsciously crafted it for herself, which then somehow goes back. You know, it's really kind of see, and that kind of stuff is so mind bending to me.
It's so mind-bending. Yeah, what the hell's going on?
But there are people that, I mean, there are people that can explain it where it makes, you know, pretty good sense. You know, I can't make heads or tails of it. There's a lot of stuff going on here, though, and those are going to be the huge answers. Those are going to be very much like, I think, the talismans. That is going to be the answer to that, is going to be the answer to the whole show. So they might, as much as we want them just to pull the trigger and give us that info, I think they're going to hold it back as more of a late season reveal, not just like a late episode reveal. I
agree. I think you're right. If we do get an answer to this season, it probably won't be until the very end. And we do know that the last 2 episodes in season 3 are going to be titled Revelations Part 1 and 2. And I think a lot of us are expecting to get some kind of big answer back then. And who knows, maybe it will be Tabitha and bracelet related. Maybe we will finally get that kind of definitive answer as to what exactly is going on with this bracelet and what
Yeah.
exactly is Tabitha's connection to this family.
Oh, I gotta hear.
But no,
Here's a
I mean,
question. Yeah, Pretty Paws asked. She found it crazy that Tabitha asked, "What happens if I don't play the game?" Which basically
ooh,
verbalizes the second level kind of thing. And this is a
yes,
question I have for you. Then, this is like the third time we've had it where people have had theories about the overall explanation of the show, and then one or another character addresses it directly in the show verbally, like Jim
yeah,
addressing the experiment, like Randall expressing what if
the
there's a
mole,
mole? Yeah. And
and
now she's saying, what if there's another level?
and even Boyd talking about, is it possible to trap the monsters using one of the talisman, which is something we've been
Mhm.
talking about since freaking season one. So yeah, we're seeing these instances over and over again where some
Yeah.
popular fan theories are being thrown directly into the show, which
Yeah.
is, it's interesting. I don't know how to make heads or tails of it though.
Yeah. And even the Matthews writing on their wall, and Tabitha, are we dead? did we,
Are we
did we die in the crash or
dead?
whatever? Yeah. It's
Yeah.
wild. But, and that's the crazy thing though. Does the fact that they verbalize it, that they talk about it in the show, does that dismiss? I mean, can you dismiss pocket dimension just because Dale said it? Dale said it. So,
Mm,
uh,
exactly.
it's tough. But they can't just dispel any one theory as a possible explanation just by having a character, or maybe they're trying to, maybe they think that, or maybe they're going to have 4 or 5 characters. Every character is going to have their own belief, their own theory about what it is, and
And everybody's gonna
just
have their
like
own
us.
bracelet. You get
Yeah.
a bracelet. You get a bracelet, and you get a bracelet, and you get a bracelet.
Yeah, but I think, and we talked a little bit about this, about giving the correct theory to somebody who has no credibility, somebody who's abrasive and
Like
kind of a pain in the
yeah.
ass, like Dale.
Mhm.
Your instinct is to immediately dismiss anything he says as just him
Yeah.
being cantankerous. But what if he's right on?
Exactly, and that's something we, yeah, like you said, we talk about it a lot. Where, when it comes to mystery box style of storytelling like this, not all the time, but sometimes they'll give you profound big answers super early on, just not a whole lot of context to go with them, so you don't really notice it is a big answer just staring you right in the face from the very beginning. And this very well could be what is happening with Dale and his whole pocket dimension theory. Like you said, considering the source of where it came from, everybody kind of just dismissed it because it's freaking Dale at the end of
Yeah.
the day. But I'm not gonna lie, Dale is starting to rub off on me a little bit. If not the person himself, it's more so his mannerisms and his dialogue. Like, Dale had me in absolute tears in this episode, especially with this one.
This is a really bad idea.
There's nothing else strong enough to pry that trap open.
You really want to start pulling apart the ancient tower of holy scary shit?
I'm sure whoever built it won't mind.
Oh, Jesus. Fuck.
So this might be not just one, but maybe 2 instances where listening to Dale might have actually been the right idea, whether it's the pocket dimension theory or whether it's him talking about, Jade, are you sure you want to disturb this ancient tower of holy scary shit? I wouldn't be pulling that thing apart. And it's funny that Jade was the one to pull it apart, because Jade was actually the one who suggested, right when they arrived in the town, that these things could potentially be some other form of talisman that are warding off evil. And it's kind of
Mhm.
funny that he is the kind of character that goes and pulls the thing apart later, when he was the one who thought it could have actually been protecting them. So no,
Yeah,
that was an
yeah,
interesting scene, and I think there are going to be repercussions to
yeah.
that. And him
Hmm.
moving that thing, like him, not only moving the brace, it's the totem falling. And I think they make a clear case to show us one of the totems falling over. I do think that is going to have some kind of repercussions. We do know that they're going to be spending the night in Cannibal Village. They're going to be sleeping in those cabins tonight. And we've actually
Hmm.
seen that from some of the stills. We see Jade and Christie inside one, Kenny inside one, Dale and all of the others, they're probably in the other one. But yeah, I mean, I guess that'll be the next question for you and for everybody in the chat. What do you think is going to happen overnight in Cannibal Village? Do you think there are going to be some consequences to Jade knocking one of those totems over? Is that going to cause some? Are they going to be in danger now?
Well, yeah, talking to on Scarlett's panel, talking to some of the other creators, it was pretty much a consensus that the belief that those totems were more of like a proximity, like whereas the
Like a barrier,
talismans
like
secure,
religion or something.
yeah, whereas the
They
talismans seal
secure
up
the whole
one
thing.
enclosed space, that was more of a proximity thing. Some people even mentioned that it was maybe to protect the crops, to protect the soil, maybe
Okay,
protect the crops,
okay.
some
I
kind
can see that.
of yeah, some kind of a proximity effect that kept the area enclosed by them protected. But yeah, it was funny, and they did give that little extra second to have Dale react to the thing falling down. It's like, oh geez, running away. So, and this will be very, very telling. And that's one of the few. It was almost like a minor thing, though. I mean, we all saw it, and but there was a lot of stuff going on because the immediate problem was using those bars to pry Christie out. So we're there in the moment with the immediate danger, the immediate threat, and our brains weren't really going to, oh my gosh, now they have to spend the night there, and one of their barriers, one of their protective whatevers is gone. So it'll be interesting. We already know there was something walking around with footsteps in the evening
Yep.
that weren't able to do anything. It'll be interesting to see
Mm.
what happens. The one thing that was super cool, though, is they really did establish, and this is a lot of world building in this episode too. They established that Cannibal Village is X distance away from the town. So, and that the little grotto where
Oh, yeah,
Boyd
yeah.
found the
The little hut. Yeah. The
talismans
talisman hut.
is like the
Mm.
halfway point, or some give
Yeah.
or take. So, they
Yeah.
told Jade, you ain't gonna make it back to town. You'll be lucky if you make it to the talisman hut.
I love that they're finally mapping out small places of this, and that's something that we've been asking for a very long time. Like, they need to kind of map this place out and see what's around them. So that's a good sign that they're at least starting to do that.
Yeah, and that for me was the entire reasoning behind Christie getting caught in the bear trap, because now they've got essentially the main town, and now they've got the outpost. I don't know if they're just going to pluck all the food and stuff that they can from here and then just bail and abandon it again until maybe next growing
Yeah.
season, because I don't think they're going to
Mhm.
be growing cabbages under 4 inches of snow. But if they do,
Probably not.
if they treat this as an outpost to the town with more than a half day's travel each way, Christie now, at the very, very least, if she doesn't die, she doesn't get complications, at the very, very least, she's mobility limited. So I think they're going to bring Christie back to town, and she's going to be anchored in town. She's going to be a townsperson from now on. No more wandering around. No, she'll be out of all the external town plot lines.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
thought maybe they might use that to maybe like assign Marielle as the medic out at the outpost to try to separate
Yep.
them,
Mhm.
to put distance, like physical distance between them. But the one takeaway that I got for sure was that I think they're bringing Christie back into the town. She's going to be rooted to the town. She's going to be anchored to the town. She's going to be mobility limited. She'll still have her skill set, but it's going to be if she even thinks about doing anything outside of the town, Boyd's going to veto it immediately. No, you're too valuable to the town. We've already seen what happens. We can't afford to lose you. You're in the town forever. And I think they're going to be her storyline from now on. Where they go with it, what they do with it, that I don't know. But I definitely, the whole thing, the whole bear trap was basically
to sideline Christie to kind of keep her grounded.
Yeah,
Okay.
put her back in
Okay.
town. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, she's an incredibly valuable asset to the town. I mean, she's got the most experience in terms of medical experience. We saw how vital she was in saving Ellis in season 2. Ellis easily would have bit the dust if it wasn't for Christie.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, maybe this could sideline her in a sense where she's not going to be as readily available as she used to be. I
Yeah.
could definitely see that being a possibility.
And I'm
Yeah,
wondering
it
what
seems
the
like the chat
utility
is
of.
under a pretty.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I wonder what the
I was
utility of
saying-
Cannibal Village will be once the veggies are gone. Once they get everything they can get, are they going to use it as a hunting outpost? Or, I mean, obviously there's traps out there. If the traps were for anything other than humans or walkers,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, I
why would
know.
they stay
I
out there
know.
after that point?
I imagine they won't. I imagine they'll probably come back to town, but I think it'll probably become another kind of fixture of the forest. Like you said, how they're kind of slowly starting to map out things where they know
Mm.
at least, all right, here's Cannibal Village, here's the Talisman Hut in between Fromville Town and the Cannibal Village. I get the feeling it'll be just a fixed point in the show where they'll probably maybe return
Mm.
to it from time to time if we
Unless
ever
they
see
find,
characters venturing out.
yeah, unless they find a ton of fish in the water. We still haven't explored that part. It might still be
That's
a
true
great
too.
fishing location.
Kenny does bring up that possibility. He says, that there could be fish in the lake, which there could be. I mean, who knows? Who knows what kind of weird, fucked up fish are swimming in a Fromville lake? Who knows? I'll
Vile
cast my
fish.
pole
Yeah.
into that beach. I will cast my pole. But no, yeah, I could definitely. I just see it kind of becoming more of a fixture of the show, similar to the Talisman Hut, maybe a little similar to something like that, where it's very similar to the other little storage shed, that the first one that Boyd finds out in the woods. That's kind of like the first outpost when they leave the town. The one where he and Sarah spent that first night in that little
Mm.
small shed.
I forgot about that thing. You're right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that was
I
just a
think it'll
short
probably.
walk away because Ellis could still
Exactly. That's
walk
like
there.
the
Yeah.
first one. Yeah, that's like the first outpost going into the woods. You arrive there, then you go a little bit further, you get to the Talisman Hut, then you go a little bit further than that, and you get to Cannibal Village. So I get the feeling it'll probably just become a fixture in the show like that. Well, maybe we'll see it here and there from time to time if more characters are ever getting ready to go on some kind of excursion out in the forest. I imagine they'll probably start along this path because they at least know they have a few relatively safe places they can hold up before they really get out into the unknown kind of thing. So I think it'll become similar to that shed in a sense, where it'll be just a fixture of the show pretty much. But no, it seems like the chat is, not pretty much in a similar agreement in terms of Jade moving that talisman, Jade moving that freaking totem is not going to end well. And again, I don't think it is as well, because we have seen there are things out there that the talisman does not protect against. Case in point, whatever was dragging Boyd and Sarah's tent at the end of season 1, they had a talisman hung up in the tent, and that did not stop whatever the heck was dragging that tent to drag it incredibly far. So could these talismans, these totems, been some kind of form of talisman to protect against whatever that was, or something similar to what that was? Again, like you said, we mentioned the weird footsteps we hear right outside of the cabin the first night that they spend there, Kenny and Jim, which was very eerily kind of similar to the knocking we hear on the RV in season 2, when there's really no room for there to be any knocking on the bottom of it because it's up against the ground. And it also reminded me of the Boyd and Sarah scene as well. Because another thing I thought was interesting in episode 1 in season 3, like as soon as the episode started, not too long into it, as soon as Jim is thinking about going out and looking for Tabitha, one of the first thing Boyd mentions is something dragged he and Sarah's tent. And then later on in that same episode, we get another reference from Jim saying maybe Boyd and Sarah's tent was dragged way past this place. I feel like they're giving us those two references of Boyd's tent being dragged almost as a way to kind of remind the audience that that mystery is still out there. And that is giving me some kind of hope that maybe we will actually find out what was dragging that tent at some point in season 3, because that's still a huge mystery that I know a lot of people still want to know. I do as well. Like that's been one of my biggest questions ever since season 1 ended. Just what the heck was dragging this tent? And not only what was dragging it, why were they dragging it? Because on first glance, you start to think maybe this thing was trying to throw them off course or harm them. But then when you see where the tent ends up the next morning, how it's, a stone's throw away from the lighthouse, it almost seems like whatever was dragging that tent tried to get them closer to the lighthouse. So I'm really hoping they're kind of setting us up to give us some kind of answer as to what was really dragging that tent, with them name dropping it twice in season 3 already.
Right. And that path was completely abandoned. The minute they found veggies, that was the immediate solution to their immediate problem. Jim was talking about going back. What am I doing out here? I shouldn't be out here in the first place. My kids are back there. Then they find the food, and then it's all hands on deck trying to get the food back there. Any thought of exploration. So I kind of, this happens a lot on these shows as we're talking about different questions and different possibilities. Sometimes we answer our own questions or the answer comes to us. It could be fish. They could stay out there or at least maintain Cannibal Village as an outpost for fish, or when you expand your map to the edge, and right now Cannibal Village is as far as they can reliably retrace their steps. Now that becomes the de facto base camp, and now they can explore from there. And it didn't even occur to me that because they had completely stopped talking about the lighthouse, they'd completely stopped talking about spider webs and Boyd's tent and all that stuff, because it became all hands on deck, get this food back to the town now. But yeah, at some point they can revisit Cannibal Village as the 0 point, the base camp for further exploration, if they ever do want to continue on with the where the hell is this lighthouse storyline kind of thing.
Or
So
just search in general, just searching the forest in general, trying to find out what else is out there. I mean, because we're seeing the further they venture away from the town, they're finding more stuff. There's more stuff out there to be found. There's no way that Cannibal Village and the lighthouse are the only two other things out there. I imagine there's tons of other things out there for them to eventually discover at some point, but that won't happen until they start venturing a little bit further out into the forest. And like you mentioned, this is about as far as they've ever been in terms of knowing how to get there and knowing how to get back to the town. So it's, like you said, it's a great starting off point. If they ever do want to kind of search the forest a little bit more and start to really mapping this place out, this is the perfect place to start that search off at, because you can go as far as you can and then get back to it before it gets dark, and at least you're mapping out a big portion of the forest each day. But I don't know, it's good. Again, in terms of these kind of permanent fixture places, I do think it'll be similar to that. We haven't seen the lighthouse in a little while, but I would be very shocked if we don't see the lighthouse again. I know we talked about this last week as well, but a show like From, with the budget that they have, it's not a crazy high budget show. If they're spending a decent portion of their budget to build an entire replica of that lighthouse, which they did, they built a 30 by 60 foot replica of the base of that lighthouse so they could have a physical set to actually film on. They built that because they are probably planning on going back to the lighthouse multiple times. Again, I would be very shocked if we don't see the lighthouse again. And speaking of the lighthouse again, I guess this is a perfect segue into that. Now that Tabitha is back in the world, back in Fromville, which she seems to be. I mean, I know that is still kind of up for debate a little bit, but I tend to think she probably is back in Fromville. And we do know, based on some of the statements from John Griffin and some of the other writers, that apparently at some point, escape is going to be a real and tantalizing possibility for the survivors. So I guess that's the question. What exactly will Tabitha be bringing back to town? Will at some point when Tabitha just, kind of tells everybody what happened to her, maybe not everybody, at least Jim and her family, and hopefully Boyd finds out. If I was Boyd, I would be, asking Tabitha every little freaking detail of what she went through. So if the town, in general, finds out that Tabitha was back in the real world and how she got there by getting pushed out of the lighthouse, do you think that could prompt another excursion to try and find this lighthouse again to potentially test if that is the way out? I mean, or was that something specific where only Tabitha was managed to get out because the boy in white kind of sent her out? I get the feeling if they all kind of pile up there and just do a giant swan dive off the lighthouse, I don't know. Something tells me that's just not going to work. It feels like it's not that simple. I get the feeling the boy in white specifically had a part with putting Tabitha into the real world from that lighthouse. Maybe that's some kind of conduit, some kind of doorway, and maybe it's just not accessible by anybody. But again, I find it very weird that, Tabitha can kind of come back to town, tell everybody, hey, there's a way out at the top of this lighthouse. All you got to do is get pushed out of it. It's like, nobody's going to go for that. Who's going to risk that?
Although, I mean, I could imagine a scene, whether it's in the town or like whether it's in the sheriff's office, maybe it's up at Colony House in like Donna's room or something. Donna, Boyd, and Tabby, Tabby explaining to them, look, there's a lighthouse and there is a lighthouse, and I did get back to the real world. If she gets her mind back to the point where she's accepting that it was the real world. Then somebody like Clara is folding clothes right outside the door and hears it. And then you'll have another bum rush like they did with Tian Shen for the food. Rumor will spread in Colony House. And then next thing you know, all the NPCs are clamoring, hey, we have to go find that lighthouse. That you guys are holding us back from getting out of here. A way out, and we demand that you do it. And then they're going to be pressured to at least resume the search for the lighthouse, track it down, because probably by like an unruly mob kind of demand. That would be my guess. And I wouldn't even call it a guess. I could see that happening. That's a way that it would make sense, kind of. Although I did stumble on something yesterday that I think was a spoiler that I was just hypothesizing and kind of like guessing and putting two and two together. Well, we were on with Spade from Parkland Media and the Movie Blog, and I think Movie Blog had seen future episodes and stuff. And sometimes like when you stumble upon, like, they're not allowed to say anything, and he's a man of integrity too. He doesn't do the theory videos when he knows what's going to happen, where he pretends like he doesn't know. So he was very he abided by the terms of keeping spoilers away, but there were some things that he just couldn't answer because I think the guesses were pretty darn close. So it was pretty crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that theory that somehow Tabby gets overheard, that there is a way to get out. And my theory yesterday wasn't about Tabby and any of that, so this isn't a spoiler. This is just my guess. But she's going to tell somebody who shouldn't be hearing it does hear it, spreads the word, and then we're going to have
Someone
a mob
tries
of people.
They jump out of the freaking lighthouse and they kill themselves.
Right. They think, well, maybe if I jump out of Colony House, if I jump out of Fatima and Ellis's window, that might be the same thing. It's the jumping, not the location.
Yeah, I don't know. I could potentially, I mean, like your theory, I could potentially see that playing out where somebody does overhear Tabitha saying, "The boy in white pushed me out of the lighthouse and I ended up in the real world." And that does prompt somebody to try and go and look for this lighthouse and just do a giant swan dive out of it, and they just dive to their death. I could totally see that happening. But yeah, it seems like it's a little too easy for Tabitha to come back to town and just say, "Hey, let's all pile into this lighthouse and jump off. That's the way home." There's no way it's going to be that simple, I feel. But no, what do you guys think about the whole Tabitha returning? Do you think she will convey to the town everything that she went through? Do you think she will tell the town that there is a potential way out through this lighthouse? And do you think that will potentially prompt some kind of excursion? I think anyone who jumps out and makes it back to the real world will find their self right back and from, just like Tabby. Now, that's a good possibility as well, Delilah. I mean, if this place doesn't want you to leave, and it seems like this place, it does not want the people to leave that it brought here. If they do end up leaving, what's to say that they're not just going to get pulled right back in, similar to how Tabitha did? So that's a very good point. I mean, even if it is a definitive way out, there's no guarantee that it's a permanent way out. They could get sucked back in some other time. I mean, if I ever made it into Fromville and made it out of Fromville, I would probably never enter a car again, personally. I'd fucking walk everywhere. I wouldn't even risk getting into a freaking car. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. Let's see what else. Yeah, if that happens, less mouse to feed. I know, right? Really didn't want to see the OG bottle tree. I did too, as well, Laura. I'm right there with you. And I know a lot of other people did as well, because they kind of hyped this OG tree up so much to the point where we were really expecting to see something probably profound, or at least we were hoping to get at least the hint of some kind of answer when Tabitha and Henley eventually did arrive at this OG bottle tree. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't actually get to see it. But again, I get the feeling we will see that tree at some point in the series. It might not be till the very end. Maybe at some point when this whole series is getting ready to wrap up and people do eventually escape Fromville and find a way out, maybe Tabitha will return to that tree and maybe we'll finally see what that OG bottle tree really is in like the final episode of the final season. But either way, I get the feeling we will eventually get that answer as to what that original tree was. If either physically travel there or maybe through some kind of vision or dream or flashback. Tabitha will ignite interest in the faraway trees. Now, that's a good possibility as well, Woodrow. Yeah, I mean, because we do know that Victor directed her to that very special bottle tree that he told her will take her to the lighthouse, which is a little bit different from some of the other faraway trees that we've seen where seem to kind of just spit people out at random destinations. But for some reason, this one bottle tree, at least Victor was under the assumption, and Miranda was under the assumption that this one bottle tree will always take people to that lighthouse. So yeah, will that potentially, spur people to try and figure out a little bit more about these trees? Will that create some kind of search for this bottle tree? And maybe Victor will be a little bit hesitant and not want to give out that information. And could that cause some kind of disruption within town? I don't know, man. They're throwing
What
a
if
lot
somebody,
at us,
yeah,
but
what if
I
somebody
hope we
goes
get
crazy and cuts
something.
one down?
Oof, yeah, cut down a freaking faraway tree. And during season one, that was some of the interesting one of the interesting fan theories that was going on, that Fromville itself was potentially created when somebody cut down a faraway tree and it kind of created this little pocket realm, which I thought was, it's a cool, fun theory, but I don't know how much, validity is actually behind it. But no, I mean, what would happen if somebody tried to cut down a faraway tree? Would there be some kind of consequences, I wonder? I wouldn't be surprised if there were. I would not be surprised. It seems like there are consequences to anything anybody does in here that kind of quote unquote breaks the rule. But
Yep.
another thing I'm wondering is, now that Tabitha is back, and because again, it seems like Fromville doesn't want anybody leaving. Now that she is back, and even Henry is with her, could that potentially ease up some of these harsh conditions that we're seeing inside the town? Could we maybe start to see the snow recede a little bit now that Tabitha is back? I'm wondering. I don't know.
Mm.
I guess we'll see.
Yeah, they could use like footage that they filmed at the very beginning, before there was actual snow on the ground and stuff. Like the entry to winter looks exactly like the exit from winter when stuff is melting, or there isn't
Mhm.
very much snow. So yeah, they could play the early season, environment clips, just like the snow is receding. And that would certainly, I mean, that would also be too quick though, because they're creating this starvation peril. And even this food here, even the livestock, all that stuff are always just band-aids, always just temporary fixes, a temporary 1 2 3 day alleviation of the overall like famine situation. But do you think like having that whole famine storyline
I
put
don't
an
know.
end
I feel
to?
like
Yeah, that'd
I
be
don't know
too
if it's put
soon.
an end to. I don't know if
Mm,
it's too soon. I don't know if it's completely put an end to, but I mean, it seems like Jim and Kenny found a lot of food, like, apparently growing in patches all around the lake. And that looked like a pretty big lake. So if
mm,
that food doesn't get spoiled, then I think the food shortage crisis will be over, at least for the time being. But if that food gets brought back to Fromville and starts getting spoiled like the other food in Fromville, then I think they're
mm.
going to have a little bit of a problem on their hands. Because again, it looks like, the rest of Fromville doesn't have poisoned soil. It seems like only the kind of area inside the town near Colony House where they were growing their food, that seems to be the only food that was actually tainted by this weird kind of blight that came around. Which again,
Mhm.
I know I very much think that rotten food was put there specifically for Fatima. But could we potentially see them bring all of this fresh food back into town, and it slowly starts to decay just by being in proximity to it? Maybe that could
Okay.
potentially start up the food shortage problem again. I'm not really
Mhm.
expecting it per se, but I guess we'll see. I mean, it's a good question. Is the food shortage crisis solved now? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe
And we
just
didn't we didn't
temporarily.
see any indication that the stuff that Tianchen had, like the canned food,
Mm,
the bottle, I mean canning, like as far as in the bottles,
yeah,
the mason
yeah.
jar canned. No indication that stuff, the stuff that people stole, no indication that went bad. I definitely agree with your idea that, see, and I was totally on board with the half the crops were destroyed as a punishment for building the tower, but not
Mm,
all, because they
yeah.
wanted a little remnant of hope, and
Give you a
then
little
everything
hope.
else
Yeah.
rotted as a double punishment, like the double whammy, a rug pull to make them, to take away that last bit of hope, or to really tighten the screws on them. But your theory that the rotted food was there specifically to feed the unholy rot eating creature growing inside of Fatima, that is so much more attractive of a theory. And it
Mm,
seems, I really was kind of bummed that they're going the Pica route with Tilly talking about licking eggshells and stuff, and they're trying to do a Dr. House MD, like, oh, there's a perfectly rational explanation for this
yeah.
incredibly
Yeah.
irrational
There's a
behavior.
reason for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. I feel like
But
that's part
I
of the
still don't
writing.
believe it. Yeah.
No, I don't believe it either, and I feel like that's put into the show just for the purposes of ambiguity, just to
Mhm.
make us, the audience, wonder. Is Fatima eating this rotten food just some weird form of morning sickness, some weird form of whatever Marielle diagnosed her with? You know, and even Tilly's kind of saying, you know, I craved weird shit when I was pregnant too, like you mentioned with the eggshells. I feel like the writers are throwing that in there just so we as the audience will question, okay, is this really just weird pregnancy, normal weird pregnancy things that Fatima is going through? Or is there something deeper, supernatural going on here? I feel like that's why those lines are thrown there, just to give us as the audience that ambiguity, so we don't know for sure if this is some kind of weird monster baby or
Yeah.
if this is just some tough pregnancy, really.
Yeah, and the
But
minute she bit
let me
that
catch
first
up with
rot.
these.
Okay, yeah.
No,
Sure.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the minute that she bit that first rotten thing, I was like, I hope they don't pull this. I think I considered Pica to be a complete cop out. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a you know, pardon the pun,
I'm
but I thought it was
hoping
going to be
more
a rotten
supernatural.
storyline. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a more supernatural explanation to what's going on with Fatima and the food.
Yeah, but let's get to the chat. Yeah, I know I'm blabbering. Let's see what
No, you're
the peeps.
fine, man. You're absolutely fine. Yeah, we got some more super chats. Thank you so much, Sufflenny, for the $2. Ley lines manifested hopes / nightmares and made it all. I mean, that's an interesting idea. I mean, we haven't really dove into the whole ley line possibility. And are there some kind of potential ley lines that are running in the real world that maybe take people into Fromville, or ley lines that run from the real world into Fromville? That's an interesting possibility. It's something. It's a rabbit hole I haven't really dove down myself yet. But yeah, who knows? Could ley lines in some way, you know, be responsible for some of the things that are happening here? I suppose it's as plausible as anything else. And thank you so much for the $2. We also got Frederick as well. Henry with Fromland's history is a game changer. Yeah, I'm really hoping Henry survives. I just, not only for the sake of the reunion that he'll hopefully have with his son Victor, you know, this long awaited reunion, which would be really cool to see that scene play out. But yeah, Henry seems to know. I mean, who knows what else Henry knows that he didn't reveal to Tabitha? Miranda was having, you know, it seems like a lot of very vivid dreams and visions about this place for who knows how long. So who knows how much she actually conveyed to Henry? And as you mentioned, and in turn, how much does Henry really know that he hasn't even, you know, touched on yet? Could we potentially only have barely scratched the surface of all of the things that Miranda has said to Henry? Maybe Henry is coming back into Fromville with some kind of gold mine of knowledge. And could that potentially even be why the boy in white sent Tabitha there in the first place, to bring Henry back into Fromville, because he is vital, you know, he's a vital piece of his plan in some way, whether it's knowledge, whether it's, you know, whether it's the boy in white or something else wants the entire Kavanaugh family in here in Fromville for some reason. Yeah, no, I could definitely see that being the case. Either way, if Henry does survive, it's a little bit of a game changer, because again, who knows what else Miranda has told him and what Victor, the town, and us as the audience can learn through his, you know, never-ending expositions, as Ravener mentioned, which are kind of never-ending. But thank you so much for the $1.99. We got Crazy Mad for $9.99 as well. Thank you so much, Crazy Mad. Tabby will tell Jim. Jim will tell everyone, and because of Jim, there will be a pile of bodies at the bottom of that lighthouse. By the way, you two are the absolute best of the best Hall of Famer YouTubers. Well, thank you so much for that, Crazy Mad. He knows we get uncomfortable when we get comments, so he loves shoving the needle in that much further at the end. But thank you so much, Crazy. I appreciate that, my friend. But no, I mean, that could be an interesting possibility where, you know, she kind of only tells Jim. And if that's the case, do you think Jim will blab to somebody else? I mean, I could potentially see Jim blabbing to somebody else. Yeah, I mean, it's Jim after all.
Yeah.
I don't know. But one thing I'm also wondering, is Jim going to let Tabitha know about these phone calls he's been receiving, you know, with someone claiming to be their dead son, Thomas? There's a lot of stuff that Jim and Tabitha could or could not tell each other when they do eventually reunite. So, yeah, I don't know.
And thank you for the kind words, Crazy Mad. You know how Jeremy takes compliments. But you know, I think it's entirely possible that Jim will tell, just because, you know, we're seeing the screws tighten on him too. The screws are tightening on everybody, and each one in a different way. Yeah. And, you know, Boyd, he's wanting to take action, and every time he wants to take action, you know, Donna will pop up and say, you know, what's wrong with you, or you do better, or you should, you know, I did the best I could. Well, do better. You know, that kind of stuff is not helpful. And I know that's Donna's role in this, but she really is kind of a wet blanket on every one of Boyd's plans. You know, well, you should have, you know, I did what the only thing I could do. Well, you should have done something different. Well, what? You're not coming up with suggestions. You know, every time he comes up, he starts planning something. You know, she's there to say no, that plan won't work, but she ain't coming up with anything herself. So it really is making me think Donna. I mean, I'm not really going any farther down the Donna is the mole rabbit hole, but she definitely is a damper on things. She's definitely there to be the doubter, to be the, I don't know if she's supposed to be playing the voice of reason, trying to dial back crazier plans, but she certainly is one of those people that says,
the one that doesn't want to take risks.
Yeah, no, you can't do it, but I'm not going to come up with the plan to help it. So
it's for some reason it just seems like Donna just does not want to take any risks. And again, I do think that's, you know, lies, you know, that is because the huge difference between how Donna sees this place and maybe how some of the other characters see this place. I mean, we saw in season 1 a pretty clear case of Donna really not even wanting to leave this place too much. I mean, she even kind of conveys that much to Kenny, where, you know, if we do leave this place, you might find there's going to be things about it that you're going to miss. And Donna, I mean, I imagine she doesn't really have much to go home to in the real world. Her sister's dead. We don't know if she has any other extended family. She's never mentioned anything about having any children or even nieces or nephews. So Donna might just be very similar to Victor in the sense where this is kind of just her home now. This is, and not only is this her home, but Donna feels like she has something special here in Colony House. She says that multiple times, where it's not just all partying and sex, you know, it's a family. Donna very much looks at Colony House like it's one big family that she is the matriarch of. So I think that's a big reason as to why Donna is a little less willing to take these big risks, because I think there's a part of her, even if it's just a small part, there's a part of her that maybe doesn't really want to leave this place because she doesn't want to lose what she has at Colony House. And then you look at Boyd's experience, and he has a completely different experience here in Fromville, where Donna has been kind of located in the town pretty much the whole time. She's never really ventured beyond the town into the forest. She hasn't really seen the darker side of Fromville. Yes, she knows about the monsters. She knows about the clear and present danger that the monsters possess. I mean, she saw her own sister get killed by the monsters. But Boyd has a much more kind of holistic, or a much more complete outlook on what Fromville really is, because Boyd has seen that darker side. He's seen some of these more dangerous things that are out there in the forest, some of these things that are a little bit more frightening than even the monsters. So I could totally understand why Boyd is much more kind of willing to take these risks and to take these chances to eventually find a way out, taking risks to kind of capture a monster and learn a little bit more. Boyd has seen the nasty, uglier, more supernatural side of this place, and it scares him. It very much scares him. We even see Kenny say that here in season 3 when he mentions, I get you don't want to go back into the forest because you're afraid, and you have every good reason to be. What happened to Boyd out in that forest scared him. But ultimately, you know, I think it only kind of fueled his desire to want to leave and to get everybody else out of here even more. Whereas Donna, again, I think there's a part of her that just doesn't want to lose the family she feels she has at Colony House. If they all get rescued, everybody that's living at Colony House, I would imagine they all kind of go back to their old lives, and Donna is left with who? Nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's kind of a measure of perspective and how they both see the town.
Yeah, and so that conversation that she had with Kenny, she was essentially just telling her on herself. I mean, she was describing herself as one of those people. I think what'll be shocking is when Boyd finds a way out, and I believe, at season 4, episode 10, Boyd's going to find, or season 5, episode 10, Boyd's going to find a way out. I think he's going to be shocked, because I think there are going to be a group of people, maybe more than just Donna too, that don't have anything better to go back to. Again, we've talked about maybe they're a wanted criminal. Maybe going back to the real world is a positively worse experience for them. So they if they can get into a groove where they work in the day, harvest veggies, smoke weed, and then lock everything down at night. We know they can go 96 days if people follow the rules. Maybe they can go longer. You can get into. I mean, we've seen people in prison camps. We've seen people in all kinds of just abhorrent situations find a baseline normal for them, and then all the other atrocities and horrors that they endure become livable, at least because they've, humans are so adaptable in that way. And
so adaptable. We can adapt to the craziest shit. You might not think so, just like thinking about it, but even circumstances like this, humans would eventually adapt to.
Yeah, because even though you're basically cannot go out at night ever, from dawn to dusk, you live a pretty carefree life, or you're expected to pitch in, just your basic work. You're living a pioneer kind of life. If you really don't have anything better to go back to, it may not be all that bad. I mean, many people adjust to life in prison, and they reach a baseline. It's very normal, and that's every bit of their life is structured and regimented, and they still find a way to cope with it. So I mean, many don't, and just like in Fromville, some people don't. Like the guy that couldn't, the one guy in the right after the massacre, who hung himself. He just couldn't take it any longer.
Couldn't take it. Yeah,
it's definitely, that's definitely interesting. But yeah, I definitely think Boyd is on the trajectory of trying to get people out, and I think he will be shocked when some people choose not to take advantage of that opportunity. But Donna is just, Donna's one of those people, and exactly like you described earlier, she's probably reached her peak. She's reached her peak of status, as the shot caller in Colony House. She may not have a whole lot.
She's a leader here. They look up to her. She's the head of this whole family. Kind of how she looks at it. It's I can see her. Not wanting to lose that aspect of this family bond she feels she has with everybody. It's definitely possible.
We've seen it at least once already, and then we've also seen, I guess, in the trailer for episode 4. They do the run around the hill thing with the ringing the bell. This will be the second time we've heard that. So really, if somebody's running, like if it's nighttime and somebody's running up the hill, they have a protocol for that. Run around the hill, meaning somebody's running for help. She literally has the power of life and death. If she could tell Matthias open the door, or she could tell Matthias don't open that door. She has the power of life and death over at least some people. And nobody would second guess her, or if they did second guess her, they'd really have to make a case for it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It is a good point. And again, it's like you said, with humans being just so adaptable to kind of almost any circumstance, it's very interesting to see how people adapt to this place, where some people kind of resist it and do everything they can to try and find answers and find a way out, like the Boyds and the Jades, and even Jim a little bit at the beginning. But then you have your other characters like your Donnas and your Victors who see this like it's their home. So again, humans are incredibly complex, and we're all so different from one another. And that's what gives us, individuality. That's what makes us, special as a species. Is we can, you can put two people through the exact same thing, and they will come out of the other end with two totally different outlooks on the experience. And I do feel like From as a whole is kind of a big allegory to that even aspect of humanity, where you put a bunch of humans in this weird kind of situation and see how are they going to react, who's going to rise to the occasion and help and be a leader, who's going to fall and break under the pressure. It's a melting pot of kind of humanity's kind of more baser instincts at times. And again, some can adapt, some can't. But yeah, man, good stuff. Good freaking stuff, guys. I feel like, again, it does feel like the show is absolutely cooking already. Even though, it's episode 3 definitely felt like it was a little bit more of a setup episode for things to come a little bit later on. It's still cooking on a very interesting level. And it looks like episode 4 in particular is going to be absolutely insane. And to that, I do have the episode 4 trailer. I will play it. And I'll give a quick one. I know not everybody likes to see the trailer, so if you don't want to actually see the trailer, you come back, you can kind of mute it and maybe come back in like 30 seconds. It's only a quick little 30 second trailer. It doesn't really show a whole lot in terms of spoilers. Not much that we didn't already kind of know, seeing the other season 3 trailers. But I will play the episode 4 trailer, and then we will discuss it a little bit. And I want to hear from you guys in the chat and from you, Ravener, as well. What kind of things are sticking out to you in this episode 4 trailer? And even beyond the trailer, what kind of things are you hoping or maybe expecting to see in episode 4?
Where is everyone? Oh my god.
The night everyone died. I was together and met the boy in white.
You know the boy in white.
Run on the hill! Get back to the bus!
You looking for these?
Why can't they leave us alone?
Whew, man. They keep them short, they keep them sweet, but they give us enough to really, really make you like, ah, shit, come on, bring this freaking episode on already. And of course, they did just release some pretty interesting stills from the upcoming 4th episode, which we'll take a look at a few of them here in a minute, starting with this as the first one. But yeah, episode 4, it's looking like it's going to be pretty interesting. It looks like we're finally going to get, now in terms of a few of these scenes that are in the season 3 trailer that we haven't actually seen in any of the episodes yet, there's not a whole lot there in terms of, most of the stuff that we've seen in the season 3 trailers, we've already seen in the first 3 episodes. But there are a few scenes we haven't seen yet. Obviously, we have this, Victor and Sarah inside Sarah's house, probably getting ready to do their whole fort business. We have this scene that we haven't seen in the episode yet of, Elgin seeing something very scary, either the kimono monster or maybe even the doll. We have this scene here of Randall speaking to someone saying, everyone's running around here, afraid to die, but I think there's worse things here than death. Now, originally, and I think a lot of us thought that Randall was probably talking to Marielle or Julie here, kind of, comparing their experiences. But based on how season 3 ended, looks like this is him talking to Boyd, as they're both going to be spending the night on the bus. So this is going to be an interesting conversation. I'm really looking forward to, in terms of like what I'm looking forward to seeing in season 3, in episode 4, I want to see this Boyd and Randall scene, the scene on the bus and the scene outside of the bus, because it seems like they both leave the bus based on the trailers. So I want to see that. What the heck is going to be going on here? Randall kind of opening up to Boyd maybe a little bit in this scene. We haven't seen this in any of the episodes yet in terms of the Christopher reveal holding the doll. Could this be part of the story that Victor is going to be telling to Sarah? We have this scene, of course. They are building some kind of fort. It looks like they're even down in the basement, and it almost looks like it maybe catches on fire, which a lot of people were, after seeing apparently a little bit of a spoilery picture, is making people think that there's some kind of projector that Victor is going to be playing. That's what was maybe in that suitcase. We got this scene that I know a lot of us are very much looking forward to seeing what the heck is going on here with Randall and these monsters. Seems like the cicadas are not fully gone for where Randall is concerned based on how episode 3 ended. And of course, we have this scene that we will be getting in episode 4 as well, in terms of this person who a lot of us thought just at the very beginning might have been Julie who got shot. I mean, we just saw this scene and a lot of people thought this was Julie. But now that we've actually seen season 3 and we've seen this new character, Nikki, who has this shorter hair, who was wearing this exact outfit last time we saw her, looks like this poor Nikki girl is going to be getting injured or potentially even shot when these new arrivals come around. Maybe a stray bullet by Acosta or something else, who knows? Then, of course, we have this scene between Donna and Boyd looking out the window at something as they're sharing a bit of a drink. But other than that, those are the only scenes that we have not seen in any of the episodes yet. We have this one that a lot of us have been dissecting in the season 3 trailer. That's how a lot of us knew that at least one of the EMTs is going to bite the dust. We see one EMT laying down dead in the street over there. But yeah, other than that, these are pretty much the only scenes that we haven't seen in any of the episodes yet. Boyd returning to the ambulance for some weird reason that we don't quite know why. But yeah, what are you guys looking forward to for episode 4, or what are you expecting to see in episode 4? Is there anything that kind of jumps out at you from seeing the episode 4 trailer in particular? And if so, what exactly are you guys looking forward to see? What about you, Raven? Or anything jump out at you from the trailer? Or should I play the trailer one more time so everybody can see it just for a second time, just in case?
Yeah. Let him. Yeah.
Yeah. let's play the trailer one more time. And again, let me know what you guys think in the chat. What is jumping out at you from the trailer, or just in general, what are you looking forward to in episode 4?
Where is everyone? Oh my god.
The night everyone died. That was the day that I met the boy in white.
You know the boy in white.
Run on the hill! Get back to the bus!
You looking for these?
Why can't they leave us alone?
Yeah.
Whew, man. Interesting. Yeah, apart from the Randall and Boyd on the bus scene, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this new cop Acosta adjusts. I mean, we haven't really seen something like this where a cop has been stuck here in Fromville before. This is the first time we've seen this. I cannot wait to see how this new cop Acosta kind of reacts to this place and how her stay is going to go. But what about you? Anything jump out you in particular from the trailer, or just something you're looking forward to in episode 4 in general?
Well, I like how they cut it. And that's why I've gotten a real, I'm the anti-spoiler guy and can't stand it, but I've gotten a lot looser about the next episode previews just because they are 30 seconds and we know how they cut them in a deceptive way where the audio doesn't match the scene. Because we saw that they did the runner on the hill, ring the bell, and you saw all the Matthews family go running to the window. Well, the Matthews family aren't in Colony House, they're in their house, but they're responding to the strobes of the ambulance. So they're completely those scenes are completely divorced from each other. We saw Nikki screaming in pain, and then we saw Marielle doing chest compressions later. So things must not be bad with Acosta in the background. So we can extrapolate that clearly Acosta makes it into Colony House among other people. Maybe turns out Nikki's in such bad shape that maybe that's why Boyd has to run back to the ambulance, maybe to get
something to save her.
Here.
That's a good idea, actually. It's a really good idea. Originally, I was thinking something for Christie, but Christie probably won't be back at that point. Christie's still in the hut, so it's not like she's going to get some medical supplies for her. So that actually really fits. Maybe Boyd needs something in the ambulance to save Nikki. Yeah,
some heavyweight trauma type stuff, and
some kind of clotting agent to stop the blood.
You're exactly right. Christie's still out there. There's no way. Yeah. Jade didn't have time to get there in his full health. There's no way Christie would have been able to get back to town, with her foot in that condition. So I'm sure that whole group, the whole foraging group, is going to be bunkering down in the cabins at Cannibal Village. But I thought it was super cool, and a lot of stuff. Who knows at what point in episode 4 the scene with Donna and Boyd, where she is freaking out. It's got to be, I would assume that it's going to be after the immediate danger. Yeah, we saw somebody laying on the ground. What did the ambulance hit that person on one of the circuits around through the town? Because nobody's out there throwing spikes as a trick.
Okay. That's just my guess. Just based on the character, it looks like it's that monster that is in the dress that we've seen in some other scenes every once in a while. I wouldn't be surprised if she's laying in the road just to stop the ambulance for some kind of ambush. That's kind of how I think that's going to play out.
Yeah, and even more than a regular person, because I may or may not stop if I see somebody laying in the road, but an ambulance driver, I mean, that's kind of their gig. That's kind of their thing, helping people.
Their deal, kind of their deal.
So, that does look like it's the one. That's the one that that set the livestock free, right? The girl with the bob.
Looks like it. Yeah, the same one that was with the same one that Julie saw on the porch, the male, the young high school looking one that Julie saw on the porch at the very beginning of the series, which was the same one that kind of tortured and killed Brian and Kelly in season 2 when the new arrivals showed up and Brian and Kelly were hiding in the bar. It was that boy monster and this female monster that kind of were knocking on the door when they opened it. But yeah, it's it looks, again, episode 3, you can totally see why episode 3 was one of those ones where it was a little bit more of, okay, take a breather, let's set some things up, because it looks like episode 4 is going to be wild and nuts. So I think this is going to be a proper From experience, and it makes sense to kind of you slow things up for an episode, you set some things up, and the next episode comes around and you have something pretty climactic. And I think that's what we're going to get here. Again, episode 4, like, it's going to be freaking nuts. But yeah, what do you guys think? What are you looking forward to in episode 4? What stood out to you guys in the trailer? Let us know. We got Chocolate Beauty for $5. Thank you so much, Chocolate Beauty. I can see Donna deciding to stay in Fromland and linking up with the creatures. Ooh, interesting. Like maybe at like the very end of the series, like if they do all find a way out, Donna maybe just decides to stay. That's interesting. That's interesting, Chocolate Beauty. I mean, again, it seems like she doesn't want to leave this place. She doesn't want to lose her family. But if everybody's leaving and she'd be the only one there, would she elect to stay or go with them? I don't know, but I could see that going either way. Very interesting. And thank you so much for the $5. I owe you a whoa. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff indeed. All right, let's see. What are you guys saying? What do you think is going to happen in episode 4? What are you looking forward to seeing? Got Rob the Recreator. What is up, Rob? Rob, you got the link. If you ever want to pop on, my friend, you are more than welcome. I would love it if Victor's dad wasn't Victor's dad. That would be amazeballs. I mean, again, you never know what's freaking possible in a dang show like this when so much is just up for grabs. You never know what's going to happen. They're throwing so many curveballs at us that at this point I don't think I would be surprised to see really anything. Shadow Skulk says even if/when they all find a way home, someone or multiple someones will stay in Fromville to help new arrivals because it wouldn't end. Now that's an interesting possibility that if they do find a way out, you think someone would actually kind of sacrifice their right to leave just to be there to greet new arrivals. Man, what a sacrifice that would be. When the way I kind of see this show going, not going, but I do get the feeling that if they do all find a way out, they're definitely not all leaving. Like, again, I've said it multiple times, and I definitely think Boyd is not going to leave this place. Boyd probably will die in Fromville saving everybody. That's kind of where I see Boyd's storyline going. I'd be very surprised if Boyd makes it all the way to the end of the show and escapes with everybody else. I see Boyd heading for some kind of heroic sacrifice to save everybody, and maybe even kind of Jim going down a similar route. I don't think Jim's going to make it all the way to the end either. But no, that would be a very interesting kind of predicament if they all do get to the end of the series and they do actually find a way out. Would someone, or maybe even multiple someones, elect to stay behind to greet new arrivals? That's a freaking sacrifice right there. That is a sacrifice. Could you see anybody doing that? Like maybe even Victor or Donna kind of just staying behind and saying, hey, someone's got to be here to greet the new arrivals. That's a profound sacrifice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it could tie in. I mean, it could tie in if especially if Henry ends up buying it at one point or another. So Victor literally has nothing to go back to other than his inherited home in in Camden. Yeah, they might just decide to make a go of it, providing that the way out that is found doesn't undo Fromville and eliminate it altogether, like eliminate people ever coming back in. If it's resolved that it remains, that
the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
I could
that's
see that
super
maybe.
interesting though. Yeah, and and I'd thrown out the idea that I say if Boyd finds a way out for everybody, that is replicatable, that more than one person can do, he could pass that information on to somebody who does want to stay, and say, if you want to go out, here's the process, and here's how it's done. Leave
a post-it note to anybody who gets stuck in Fromville after me. Here's the way out. Peace.
Yeah, there's a pistol in the top drawer. The pistol in the top drawer in the sheriff's office. But yeah, and I mean, and this is totally contradictory to my little like throwaway theory that there's going to be something with like time sensitive, like an urgency where the portal only opens for X amount of time, and then that goes to my Victor doing a Hodor kind of thing, the Hodor moment where they hold the door open just for at his own expense.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And again, Victor would seem like he would be the prime character to do something like that. I mean, he's been here in this place for so long. Maybe he's feeling like he's getting to the end of his rope. And if his sacrifice gets, Tabitha and Ethan, people that he cares about. I mean, he's grown to have a really good relationship with Tabitha, and he's good friends with Ethan. it seems like he would, if anyone would kind of sacrifice themselves to save them, I could see Victor maybe doing that. Like you said, an interesting, epic Hodor moment where he's just holding the door open. Because I think you make an interesting point. If they do potentially find some kind of way out, whether it's some kind of doorway or some kind of portal, and they find out that it's only going to be open for a certain amount of time, that would, it creates such an interesting sense of urgency, adds a lot of kind of that thrilling, feeling to that scene. And to the ending. No, I could definitely see something like that.
And that would be a
stuff,
huge
guys.
that would be a huge growth for Victor too, because right now, I mean, he's treated as an outcast, and he acts as he's somewhat of a hermit. He's treated, even Fatima, the nicey nice proxy for everybody, is calling him creep or creepy and that kind of stuff. Bit by bit, he's realizing that people need him, and he's very, very ready to fall back on, I don't want to talk about that. Very close to the vest with all the information, the critical information, arguably, that he could have been sharing. This will be a huge moment of him stepping outside of his comfort zone, doing something like embracing a really heroic role for somebody who's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy as a baseline. He's just
he's just
damaged. Yeah,
just damaged. But he's a good guy at heart. I very much believe that too. Keenan asked if they killed another monster. I mean, I suppose that's a possibility. But I mean, when I saw this with this picture, if you're referring to this picture, I kind of saw this as this is one of the monsters maybe laying a trap for the ambulance. Lay in the road, pretend you're hurt. You see an ambulance coming. Of course, someone's going to get out of the ambulance to try and help. So when I saw this, I thought, no, I don't think it's a dead monster. I think it's a monster laying a trap for the ambulance. And as Laura Butler points out, finally Victor and Sarah are talking. She is shocked that he knows about the boy in white too, that was exactly my reaction as well. And it's just another interesting testament to these characters never sharing information with each other, which has been something that a lot of people have been bringing up ever since season 2, where people find these pretty interesting answers out and they just don't seem to be sharing everything with everybody. And so, we see that Victor mentions the boy in white and Sarah is like shocked, like, holy crap, you've seen the boy in white too? It's like, okay, I mean, if we needed any more confirmation, these characters never talk to each other, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and there's definitely going to be some good info. There's definitely going to be some good info derived from that, the little fort adventure with Sarah and Victor.
Think so. Yes. I think so. That's one of the scenes I'm looking forward to the most. Whatever story Victor's getting ready to tell Sarah, whatever he's getting ready to show her, it's going to lead to some kind of answer, if not for us, at least for Victor, because again, I'm never going to read the episode synopsis again going into a season, but based on the episode synopsis we did read this season, it does look like at some point Victor is going to uncover some kind of memory, some kind of past information about the town, and apparently it's going to be something that he is going to be struggling to come to terms with. So I get the feeling that whatever he's getting ready to tell Sarah or whatever he's getting ready to show her, maybe it will jostle loose some kind of another lost memory for Victor, maybe, and he'll remember something that will be, profound in some way. But it's going to be a good scene. Sarah and Victor interacting for the first time is pretty interesting because, again, these are two of the characters that are having a little bit more of a special connection to this place. And a lot of us are wondering, why is Victor taking this story to Sarah to begin with? Does he want to use Sarah's connection to this place? Does he want to utilize that in some way, shape, or form? Or, the other possibility is he maybe just sees a kindred spirit in Sarah, another outsider, another person who the town kind of rejected and ignores. Victor can, probably see a lot of himself inside Sarah. So maybe that's why he goes to her, because he just feels that kind of comfortable familiarity. Or who knows? Maybe he's trying to use her abilities for something. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you that question. I'll ask the chat the same question. And why of all people did Victor show up on Sarah's doorstep? Because the one thing that we could derive from that interaction on the doorstep is that they have no kinship, no familiar. I mean, they're vaguely familiar that, this is another person from the town, but she's like, what do you want? Can I help you? What do you need? Would you like to come in? And, there was no warmth, or there was no sense of any kind of connection, of any kind of prior connection between them when he just shows up on the porch with the suitcase, which is strange.
it did, you definitely don't get the sense that these two characters have interacted a whole lot. And Sarah hasn't been there a whole lot. I believe before the Matthews family showed up, Sarah was one of the most recent arrivals before the Matthews family showed up. She had only been there for a few months up until that point.
Right.
So yeah, I imagine her and Victor haven't probably interacted a whole lot. But no, this is an interesting one as well. As Leah says, wouldn't it be more interesting if a prison bus ends up in Fromville?
Oh
That
my
would be
God.
freaking nuts, man.
Oh my
I think
God.
that could be a really actually interesting storyline. I mean, you see a freaking prison bus arrive in this place filled with like hardened criminals. How the heck is Boyd going to handle something like that? I mean, yes, he's got a little bit of backup now in this new cop Acosta. He's got Kenny. But man, I mean, imagine that a whole prison full of people arriving here in Fromville. Once they are, those of them that do survive, once they kind of realize what this place is and they see the circumstances they're living in, they could easily just take over the whole freaking town, really, and just do whatever the frick they want. Push people out of Colony House, push people out of houses, steal talismans from fellow townsfolk. That could create a very interesting and dangerous dynamic within the town if the wrong kind of people get stuck in Fromville that want to do harm to not monsters, they want to do harm to fellow humans. So no, that'd be nuts. We saw a prison bus there. It'd be
Oh my
freaking
gosh.
nuts.
Yeah, we saw what kind of trouble even somebody like Randall causes. Somebody slightly antisocial. If we have people that are actually, and yeah, not everybody has to be a murderer. They could be, but you have to determine that too. I mean, somebody could be a murderer, and then the next person could be a wire fraud or something. That doesn't necessarily mean that
tax theft, tax fraud or some shit. Yeah,
and you have to
never know.
determine each person, right?
Yeah. Why isn't there much Tabitha in the trailer? I think it's because they just don't want to give a lot of her storyline away. I mean, a lot of us have been wondering what exactly is going to be going on with Tabitha. Will she be reunited with her family right away? Is she going to split off from this ambulance in some way? So I think that's probably why they're not showing a whole lot of Tabitha in the trailer, because they just don't want to give it away. They don't want to spoil too much, I would imagine. Too bad Nikki got hurt. I liked her. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Nikki myself personally. I mean, yes, she did try to do that kind of little half-assed apology the next day. I'm just not a big fan of Nikki. I mean, first impressions are everything, and her first impression was tits up. Do we all think Fromville is sentient? I definitely do. I mean, if Fromville itself isn't sentient, then something sentient is controlling it at the very least. I feel like that much is kind of not like confirmed, but pretty clear, kind of close to clear at this point. Whatever this place is, whatever is controlling it, it's alive almost. It has its own sentience, its own kind of consciousness. I mean, something is pulling people into this world. Something is actually getting angry at Jade and Jim for building that radio tower to the point where it sends a storm to knock the radio tower over. So I get the feeling that yes, if Fromville itself isn't sentient, then something sentient is directly controlling it. Even down to something just destroying the Matthews family home, and only the Matthews family home, almost to kind of cover that hole up. So yeah, something very sentient is in control of this place. I very much believe.
Yeah, and it was weird though that Nathan had a sense of that even before anything happened, right? Anything colossal with the environment happened.
Yep. Yeah,
Nathan
something you push too hard to get answers. Something will quote unquote push back. I don't know what gave Nathan that idea, but yeah, you're right. Nathan seemed to be on the money like super early on, before even bad shit was starting to happen. It seemed Nathan kind of already had this feeling that this place was alive in some sense. That again, like the very weird that way that Sarah phrased it, where if you push too hard for answers, this place will push back. And again, I think that's exactly what we saw with the whole radio tower, mishap. As soon as the radio tower goes up, we see a storm get sent to take it down. So yeah, this place is very much sentient or alive, or again, something sentient is controlling it at least. But welcome, Rob.
Yo, what's going on? 360 people watching. That's awesome.
Awesome stuff, man. Yeah, and again, so glad to have everybody here tonight. That is absolutely freaking awesome. We love to see some new names in the chat. Everybody is welcome here. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your theories. What are you guys looking forward to for the rest of the season? And we got Robert Saunders for $10. Wow. Thank you so much, Robert Saunders. You've been an awesome supporter of not just this channel, but the entire Fromily fandom as a whole. So I very much appreciate Robert and all of his contributions and everybody's contributions. You guys
first
really are the
timer,
best.
first timers and long timers, and Robert's definitely a long timer with with this show. So
absolutely.
$10. Let's see what's he got.
Yes, he says, great live tonight. I posit that the totems are carved from faraway trees, and the monsters can't cross them, just as they cannot enter a faraway tree. Good night, Fromily, and we are only days away. Yes, Robert, we are just days away now. It seems like the weeks are kind of starting to whip by, and I don't want them to whip by too fast. I really want to savor and enjoy this season 3 of From while it is here, but it's nice to know we still have 7 freaking episodes to look forward to. We're only at the beginning of season 3 so far, and we're already getting a ton of interesting things, I feel. So thank you so much for the $10, Robert, and thank you for being just an awesome member of the fandom, and I definitely owe you a will.
Yep. And I know I do between 10 and 14 hours of live streaming just on the weekends, and then I'm like, whew.
Just on the weekends alone, right? Shit, man. But it's. I mean, I love it. I do genuinely love doing these these streams and having these conversations and topics and just seeing what everybody, where everybody sits, what everybody thinks. And now that
so what do you think about
panel,
that? Carving a faraway tree,
because
that's got to be a taboo. That's got to be the hell of a taboo, right?
That's very interesting. I mean, it's I mean, could these faraway trees potentially have some kind of protective property? And Robert brought up something interesting about we've never seen the monsters even go near a faraway tree, let alone use them. And that's something we've been wondering for a long time. Can the monsters even use the faraway trees? Like, if a monster were to step into that tree, would they teleport somewhere else, or would they kind of just be stuck in the fucking tree and they would have to walk out? I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting to find out if these trees are only meant for humans or if they could teleport monsters as well. I mean, we see Victor drop a rock into one in season 1, and the rock kind of gets spit right back out right in front of the tree that it entered. So again, it's really hard to tell if the monsters can even use these trees. But I guess I'll ask that. I mean, what do you think, Rob? Do you think the monsters can use these trees, or do you think this is more just for humans?
No, I don't think so. But I think like the sentient thing checks out, because like if you think about yourself, right? You're sentient, you can see things, you know things about your body, but then you still have stuff like you can get cancer, you can get sick, and you can't see it coming. So it's the same thing, I think, with From. Like, it can see certain things, but it doesn't know everything that's going on in it. So
okay. Interesting. I mean, it seems like they can, whatever this place is, it definitely seems like it's got some level of surveillance over this place. Like, it knows what these people are doing, but is it all seeing, all knowing, and can control every little aspect of it? Probably not. Like you said, I mean, if it could, it probably never would have let Tabitha escape in the first place. So no, I think that checks out in terms of it definitely being a sentient place that has a lot of control, but maybe not complete and total control. I like that.
I wonder if they could, like, if they were able to use faraway trees, what happens if they go somewhere that's secured with a talisman? Like, Sarah ended up in the bottom of the church, and the church is, I guess, I mean, I'm assuming it's
church is a talisman.
secured.
That's where Patry lived. So I imagine it has one.
So does it kill them? Would they die? Would that not be an option? Would they end up at some other random destination? Because I think that might be, is that the only place that was talisman secured? Because we know the root cellar is not talisman secured.
In terms of destinations that we've seen people end off on going into faraway trees, I think the only destination we've seen so far that was talisman secured was Sarah ending up in Father Cautry's basement. Every other place that people get spit out, like you said, it's the root cellar or it's some other weird place. I think that's the only instance where we've seen that specifically happen. And I get the feeling if a monster could use one of these trees, which I'm not really convinced they even could, but if they did, I imagine that just with the talisman being up, that would probably keep them out of that space. Like, they probably wouldn't even be able to go to that destination because the talisman is up. Like, it keeps them out of it maybe, but who knows? I mean, it's just, there's so much about these freaking trees that we still don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe the trees are almost like they're blessed by the same blessing that the talismans provide, and that's not even on the table for a monster to go into it. Like you said, they don't even go near one that we've seen, So yeah, it could be a moot point.
Part of the rules.
Part of the rules, exactly.
It should be part of the rules. And we even hear Harold Perrineau say that in some of the behind the scenes features where, this place has rules, and the snow, he specifically, he says the snow is just another rule. So it does seem like there are maybe kind of, again, quote unquote, rules that some of these things and places have to abide by. And could one of the rules be that the monsters can only come out at night kind of thing? Maybe the sun doesn't actually have a physical kind of devastating reaction to them. Maybe they just simply can't come out during the day because it's not, because that's not the rules. I just always found it very interesting that you hear a lot of the behind the scenes features and you always hear the cast and the crew, referring to this place as having certain rules, almost like rules that just can't be broken for whatever reason. But again, it's just so much of the show is still just left up in the air and up for grabs that we just don't know.
And
but
if they're
again, I do think.
Oh, I was gonna say, if their human form is just a glamour kind of thing, just a facade, and their true form is the monster form, the monsters don't have eyelids, so maybe the sun's really irritating to them.
We assume that the big bad's in From, but what if the big bad isn't in From and it needs to get into From to kill those kids?
Oh, interesting. Like, or maybe it's in From, but it's locked up somewhere in From, similar to how the entity was locked up and it needed Boyd to come around and free it, kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. That's a possibility. I mean, again, these freaking kids seem to be vital to this story, where Miranda very much felt like she was kind of chosen to save these kids, and not only that, she apparently could see all of the previous chosen ones that came before her, all of which failed to save the children. And that's kind of how I see Jade's storyline going as well, where Jade is seeing past versions of people who also saw that symbol, and all of them failed to solve it, just like Christopher. But no, I mean, yeah, I could very well see that being the possibility. I mean, it seems like these kids are going to play a vital role, and I guess maybe that will determine who wins or who loses, whether Miranda or Tabitha and the townsfolk, whether they manage to save the children and they win, or whatever is trying to maybe kill these children or finish whatever kind of weird experiment or ritual that was going on that Jade may be seeing. Maybe it's two factions that we're seeing going against each other, and the town doesn't even know they're on one side. Yeah, I don't know, man. So much weird shit going on with this damn show. So much weird shit.
Jeremy, let me ask you this: is there anything you wouldn't want the show to be like? God versus the devil, or a purgatory, or is there anything like you just don't want it to end up the show being?
Yes, for me personally, I really don't want it to be a simulation. I'm not a big fan of simulation stories. I feel like with all of the mystery and weird kind of supernatural hints that they're throwing into the show, if at some point it's revealed that this is all just one big simulation and these are all just programs being enacted, it's just going to take away so much of the magic and the mystery and just everything that makes the show what it is. So for me, the one thing I don't want it to be is a simulation. What about you? Is there, and you and Ravener, and in the chat, what do you guys think about this as well? Is there one explanation as to what Fromville is? Is there one outcome that you guys just don't want to see happen? Again, for me, it's definitely the simulation. But what about you, Rob? Is there one thing you don't want to see happen in the end?
Probably like God versus the devil type thing. I don't mind evil versus good, and any kind of take on that is fine. But that would probably be a bit cliche and boring for me, I think. But you, Ravener?
I'm very much in the simulation way. We've seen it recently with 1899. It's anything that we've seen way too recently. 1899 with simulation. Yeah. I really don't want it to be a government, just to be different from you guys. I don't want it to be a government experiment. I don't want it to be, because they'll have to stretch all, there's stuff that the government can do, and they're just limited by their technical capabilities, not by any moral, not by any moral scruples. The government, there's nothing that they won't do if they, they think that they can get ahead. But I just don't think that, all the stuff that's happening in here, I think they'd be really hard pressed to explain it as an experiment. Like certain things that seem at least from what we've been shown, to that are apparently supernatural. It seems like the science might be beyond what we're capable of replicating
Human capabilities.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, that's why it does seem like and where our technical capability leaves off, that's where simulation would come in, because simulation, very much like animation or anything else, it's only limited by your imagination. If you can think it, you can code it, and you code it and it becomes canon, to that world. That would definitely explain a lot of the supernatural stuff. I want it to be supernatural. I mean, I think in my real life, I love the idea. I mean, I'm not really a believer in almost any of it, but I'm always intrigued by the possibility of there being supernatural explanations, ghosts and different dimensions and all this other stuff. I would love, I just haven't seen enough to prove it to me, but I would love for it to be the case. I'm always intrigued by genie bottles. I'm always intrigued by monkey's paws, things that grant you a wish but backfire in a certain way. Those are the most, as far as like in literature and in movies and stuff, those are always the most appealing tropes to me. So it wouldn't bother me if this one went that way. But that's just my personal preference. I know other people probably despise that as like the cheapest, crappiest thing, but that's just my personal preference.
No, that's totally cool. Totally cool.
Lots of people agreeing with Jeremy. They don't want a simulation.
That's been, again, I feel like a simulation would just cheapen all of the interesting mystery and intrigue that they've set up. Like, again, it does seem like it's going into kind of more of a supernatural area, and I really hope that is the case. But yeah, if it turns out to be just one simulation, it kind of, you can just easily explain all of this weird stuff without really a lot of explanation. It's just, it's just a computer program. It's just, it would cheapen it a little bit for me personally. Don't want it to be a dream, or how Tabitha thinks they're dead. That's another one. I mean, that was an interesting theory early on. A lot of people thought that maybe they're all just already dead and this is some kind of purgatory. And even Crazy Mad brings that up as well. Thank you so much, Crazy Mad, for the $9.99, my friend. I don't want it to end with them in purgatory waiting for everyone to move on. Yeah, I'm hoping that's not the case either. I mean, I would prefer that over a simulation. I'm hoping that's not the case though. Admiral Wackass says, sorry, it's a simulation in a spaceship.
That would suck so bad.
Maybe it would. It really would. And this is a good one. Kiwi says, I don't care what the explanation is as long as they do it well. And that is my thing. And like in terms of the alien route, if this does turn out to be some kind of alien experiment, I would be okay with that if it's some kind of new take on it, a new take that we just haven't really seen. We've seen so many different iterations of the whole quote unquote alien experiment. And if this does turn out to be an alien experiment, I would be okay with it if it was something new that we just have never seen before, a completely new take on an old genre or on an old trope. That I would be okay with. Joe No says it's a simulation. It's a simulation. If it's a simulation, it's a sim within a sim. Ooh, interesting. Sim within sim, like Inception within Inception kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see Riker walking out of the holodeck on deck 11. Damn it.
That makes sense if it was Riker's simulation, because there's all these hot chicks in it.
Maybe. Beth Barry does not want it to be a dream. Awesome. Yeah, and a simulation could really just mean it could be really anything at that point. I kind of think the residents coming in, dying, whatever, builds up a cycled reset, which corresponds to the dates on the tower with all of Tabitha's visions. Interesting. If they all leave, it must only when Fromville is resolved and stop exiting. Otherwise, it's going to suck them back in like it did Tabby. Tabitha knowing the way out is useless until they end it. And that's a good point. I mean, even if they do all find the way out, what's to say they're not all just going to get pulled right frickin' back in a day or a week later? So yeah, maybe this is going to be one of those things where even Ethan says it at the beginning, this is a quest. We need to solve the quest to go home. And maybe that was direct foreshadowing for them needing to solve something definitive before they leave, so it doesn't pull them and other people back in after they leave. So I could definitely see that being the case. Absolutely.
So is it just they have to save the kids? Save the Ankui children.
Could it be as simple as they need to save the Ankui children? Maybe. I mean, we're seeing a lot of hints that saving these Ankui children seems to be a main mission for whatever these chosen ones are, or at least these visions that these chosen ones are receiving, they're interpreting as we need to save these children, and everybody has failed at that. Could that ultimately be the goal? Save the, save the children here, save the world kind of thing. I mean, it's a little heroesy, but I suppose it's possible. I suppose it's possible.
A point that Spade made yesterday is that we've seen the Ankui kids in the town with Tabitha and near the monster caves with Tabitha, but we haven't really seen them at the lighthouse, right? It seemed like the lighthouse was a prison, and if we were going exactly off of what Miranda said, we have to free the kids. I have to go to the tower to free the kids, and then we're going home. Those are two different statements. It doesn't mean that the tower was the route to going home. It's free the kids from the tower, comma, and then we're going home. Yeah. So that's the first thing that she has to do. It may not have anything to do with the tower. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. That would track. Absolutely. I like that. Leah Bradley says, I think the kids locked in the tower isn't the lighthouse. The tower burned down and sat atop the caves where the monsters sleep, and the kids are in cages now. Ooh, interesting, Leah. I mean, yeah, we hear the whole, the children are locked in the tower. You got to save the children locked in the tower. And Tabitha is assuming that the tower is the lighthouse. But what if it's not? What if the tower is a completely other tower we haven't seen yet? I mean, that could very well be possible.
Like where Martin was, like the full version of where Martin was?
Maybe, like the full structure where Martin was, or maybe a new place we haven't really seen yet. I don't know. I could see it being either or. Because, yeah, when you think save the children in the tower, you don't really think lighthouse. But, again, this also isn't your normal average lighthouse. I mean, it doesn't seem to be near any body of water or anything like that. So I guess that's the question. Is the tower, quote-unquote tower, referring to the lighthouse? Or is it referring to some other structure we haven't seen yet or just don't have enough context for? I mean, I suppose either are possible. Yeah. I don't want it to be a dream, government experiment, or computer simulation. Yeah, I'd be cool with it being neither of those three as well. If it ended up being Jade's own program, it'd be whack. And that was a very early theory back during season 1 when Jade drops that line of, he just sold his company for an obscene amount of money, and he had this this quantum computer algorithm that he created. And some people thought that maybe this whole place was some kind of weird simulation that was running on Jade's technology. That's been around since season 1, that theory. And again, I hope that's not the case. I really want them to stay away from simulation in any way, shape, or form, personally. But who knows? Who knows? Things only seem supernatural until we get an explanation, which is how we ended up with religion. And that's a good possibility. I mean, you make a good point, and that's the thing. Science that we don't understand is always kind of perceived as magic. You see some kind of weird scientific gizmo that we have no kind of reference for and no way of even understanding it. Our human brains are probably going to interpret it like, okay, this is some weird form of magic. This is something kind of supernatural. But what if it's some just advanced form of science that hasn't been explained yet? That is very well possible as well. Absolutely. Again, I really am hoping for the supernatural explanation. It seems like they're heading a little bit more and more into the supernatural, era. But who knows? Maybe it'll be a simulation with aliens. Yeah, best of both worlds, as Tim R says. maybe. But yeah, let's dive into some more of these stills for episode 4. See what we can see. Now, of course, the first one we started off on, we got the monster out there, and again, this is why we see this monster in the street here, again, setting some kind of trap for the ambulance, because apparently she gets up not long later and she's got blood on her hands. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the monster that takes out one of the EMTs when the EMT kind of approaches to see her down. It looks like there's a big pool of blood right here. I wouldn't be surprised
bag with the high vis
right here. Yeah, there's this bag. Yeah. So it looks like they're setting some kind of trap, some kind of ambush for this ambulance. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Again, I mean, obviously one EMT is going to bite the dust, but I guess that'll be a question that I'll ask you and Rob both, and the chat. I mean, I think a lot of us are assuming that Tabitha will probably survive. I think Henry's still up in the air. We know that the cop Acosta is going to survive based on the trailer. But what do you guys think about that one EMT whose fate we don't know? We know at least one EMT gets it based on the trailer, seeing him sprawled out in the street. Do you guys think both of these EMTs are going to go? Are these two red shirt EMTs, or could one of them potentially survive for a little bit?
Ooh. I just don't see a situation where they both survive. I think it's got to be shocking because the thing is, I mean, the monsters in this case,
because we saw one dead in the trailer. At least one's going to die. That much we
yeah. But that's the element of surprise. You know, the first time, you know, when the first one gets slashed, then the other ones, you know, then they're on alert. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be safe because they're obviously not safe. We know Acosta makes it up the hill. I can't remember, did the guy say runner on the hill or runners on the hill?
Runners on the hill. Runners on the hill.
Okay, so it probably is more than one. That damn sure ain't Henry, because he's probably still strapped down to the gurney and inside.
Yeah, unless he wakes up. Yeah, I don't know.
Henry has to survive, man. They can't do all this and kill him off.
Man, I swear, if we don't get the Henry Victor reunion, I'm gonna be so upset. Like, Henry cannot be brought all the way here just to die before even meeting his son. No, that can't happen. Can't happen. Yeah. It won't happen. It better not.
It'd be pretty cool though. Actually, it'd be pretty fun, wouldn't it?
And we know how far.
Again, it would be the kind of gut punch that this show is known for. So who knows? Maybe.
Tyler B says if Christie dies, the other EMT will survive. I think that's a pretty good bet.
Okay.
I don't think she's gonna die though. Do you think they would do that? Maybe they would. Take Christie
I'm like,
out.
you don't think they would do that, but that's what they want you to think.
Because there's EMT.
I think anybody could go.
Yeah, I mean, there's EMT level of medical knowledge, and then there's, you know, third-year medical student level of medical knowledge, and Mari falls somewhere in between, I guess. But I couldn't. I mean, that would be a huge downgrade, and it will definitely reduce their ability to treat injuries and sicknesses. If they take Christie off the board, and then we are assuming that because Acosta is the rookie cop, she's firing willy-nilly, but we also know how far Colony House is from the main town, so that's a long way for a bullet to go through the window and get if that's what happens, to get Nikki, unless they're closer to maybe monsters show up between Colony House and the people running, and Acosta fires, so she's a lot closer to Colony House. Then she's not firing from where the ambulance is. She might be firing at the halfway point or even farther. She might be on the front porch for all we know, and the monsters might pop up in between them and the door. It's interesting to see, but at least one EMT has to die. I'm just assuming both of them were. Both of them will.
I think they'll both get it. I think they'll both get it, personally. I don't know. It seems like they got red shirt written all over their dang forehead, but who knows? Maybe one of them will survive. Maybe
he didn't have a name. His name, both of their name tags just said EMT.
Vic says
nameless. Yeah.
Vic says 2 people die, 2 people join. So who's going to die? Because that seems to be a theme. Like, if people come in, people have to die. So who's gone?
Yeah. I think Tabitha and Henry and I'm hoping Tabitha, Henry, and Acosta all survive. Now, if Tabitha comes back, that's not really a new replacement. That's just her replacing the one that already left. But if we are going to get 2 deaths this season, which we at least are, we already lost Tian Chen, and according to the showrunner, we're going to be losing a few of our most beloved characters. That leads me to believe that at the very least, we're going to get 1 more death. So could those 2 deaths be replaced by Acosta and Henry, potentially? That maybe, which again would probably lead both EMTs to probably bite the dust. I don't think these EMTs are very long for this world. Henry will survive. Henry and Acosta were the only 2 ones that were announced as actual cast members. So, I mean, yes, he's been on the show for 4 episodes. They could potentially kill him off, but it would just be very weird to introduce a character like that, bring him into Fromville just to kill him off right away. I think Henry probably could get killed off by the end of the season, maybe. but I don't see him dying this fast. Before people will run out of the ambulance and Boyd will have to choose which pair he goes after. Maybe we do know Boyd is going to have a difficult decision that he is going to have to make when these new arrivals, show up. Could that potentially be, which group do I go to save? Do they potentially get split off at some point? And maybe we see Tabitha and Henry in one direction, and we see Acosta and the surviving EMT going in another direction, and Boyd has to kind of choose, okay, which one am I going to go after, kind of thing? Maybe.
How long do you think it'll be before till Reddit starts shipping Henry and Tilly?
Oh, geez. I'm surprised it hasn't already happened. I am surprised it has not already happened. I think Henry is going to figure out that Tabitha is Eloise and suffering from trauma-induced amnesia. Maybe. You never know. Very well could be. I'm ambivalent on Christie since the god-awful haircut.
That's a good enough reason to kill her off the show, honestly. That is diabolical.
Oh, man. Yeah, poor Christie, man. She's had a rough go of it. The foot in the bear trap, the haircut. She's having a rough go. The monsters display a high level of bloodlust. Does spilled blood turn the monsters on? Says Angela. Ooh, interesting. I don't know. I mean, as you mentioned, they definitely seem to have some kind of level of bloodlust where they really enjoy just ripping their victims apart and just slicing and dicing them. Is that something they quote unquote get off on? I don't know. I mean, it seems like they very much enjoy torturing their victims, though, which again I think led a lot of us to maybe think that these things are feeding on actual pain and fear and misery, like negative emotions in general. That's why all of these monsters don't just want to kill their victims; they want them afraid too. They want to torture them. It's not just like a quick kill these things want to do. They really want to get in there and make you suffer, which has led a lot of people to think that maybe these things are actually feeding on fear and pain and misery and those emotions, which again could be possible. Very well could be possible. Christie's leg is injured, so she won't be able to perform her duty well. Yeah, exactly. And I think you and Raven were kind of on there in terms of like this is really going to sideline Christie. She's not going to be able to be as readily available. I mean, we see somebody get hurt at Colony House, this Nikki character. And maybe that's why we see, like you mentioned earlier, maybe that's why we see Marielle working on her, because obviously Christie's in the shed right now, so she can't help. But even if Christie was back in the medical clinic, it's not like she'd be able to just make it over to Colony House at night in her condition. So yeah, Christie's going to be sidelined. And not only sidelined, an injury like that, while won't kill her in the outright, if some kind of infection sets in, some kind of gangrene sets in, that very well could prove to be fatal in a place like this where medical supplies are very low. Yes, they got a new ambulance coming in, but I have to imagine there's probably not a whole lot in terms of like long-lasting supplies there. So they got to watch out. I mean, just a little cut, could turn into a nasty infection and end up killing somebody now.
Right. And they got a whole new set of supplies with the ambulance. But yeah, if Christie gets an infection, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, because she's immediately going to be sapping any antibiotics they have and all that stuff. That was the one thing that Dale's been wrong about in this whole show. Was he was just like, oh, it's a good thing that trap was so rusty or you would have lost your leg. Oh yeah, be so glad that this rust infested trap just like snapped your leg.
Super lucky. Yeah, it's your lucky day, Christie. Are they EMTs or paramedics? Paramedics have a lot more medical training than EMTs. I don't think the show has specified if they're EMTs or actual paramedics. Maybe we'll find out. Does it say EMT on their collar?
The name badge. Because I was joking that was their actual name. Like his name was Bob Empt or something, but no, it was just it was EMT. Okay. On his chest.
So it might be so it might be EMTs and not paramedics. Absolutely. Could be. Yeah, very well could be. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. What if the forest is moving and the food party can't find their way home while Christie is dying from a wound? Ooh, now that's interesting, Leah. I mean, yeah, we're getting all of these weird hints to the freaking forest and the trees potentially moving, but it seems like that's more of a gradual thing that doesn't seem to be happening too fast. So in order for the trees in this place to move that much to the point where they would get lost on their way home, the trees would have to start moving at a much more rapid rate for that to happen. As of right now, it seems like they only moved like a few inches, according to Victor when he measured it. So it seems like, yes, this place is moving, but it seems like it's moving super slow. But you never know, that could very well speed up. And that would be nightmarish if they're trying to get back to the town with Christie injured, and all of a sudden they find themselves in some weird, unfamiliar part of the forest that they've never seen before. That could be very gnarly, especially with nighttime potentially coming. Maybe
doesn't Fromville give you bonus healing power though? Like we saw it with
some
Ethan.
people.
Sometimes, yeah.
Some people, sometimes.
Some
Yeah,
people,
okay.
yeah. And I think it has to do with who is and who isn't breaking the rules. Because we've seen clear instances of people breaking the rules having negative consequences. And it seems like only the people who have broken the rules are the ones that don't heal fast. The people who haven't broken the rules, they've all healed incredibly quick. Like Ellis. Ellis isn't out there looking for ways out. He's not looking for answers. He's just, there with his girlfriend at Colony House living his life. He gets stabbed, and then literally the next day, he's on his feet at the medical clinic. They bring him to the medical clinic, and Christie, stitches him up, and then literally the next day he's on his feet outside of the medical clinic looking at Smiley. So Ellis is starting to heal incredibly fast being at the medical clinic. Then, of course, we saw Ethan as well. Ethan got impaled through the leg with that freaking table, and even Tabitha mentioned, like, holy crap, you're healing really fast. And Ethan, at that point, Ethan's not out there breaking the rules, looking for ways out, and yada, yada. Yet we see Jim. Jim gets a little twitch in his leg, a little kind of limp, and he still has that limp all the way now in season 3. Jim, how is Ethan and Ellis's wounds healing way faster than Jim just having a little tweaked knee? Because Jim was breaking the rules. Jim was actively looking for a way out, actively trying to find answers with Randall in season 2. And then Boyd as well. Boyd cuts his hand. Boyd still has that freaking cut on his hand. Why is Boyd not healing fast like everybody else? Because he's actively looking for ways out and trying to break the rules. That's just my theory personally on it. That's why I think some people heal and why some people don't heal. But
that makes perfect sense. The question, I guess, then is, has Christie broken the rules?
No, up until this point, it doesn't seem like it. I mean, Christie doesn't seem to be out there looking for answers, trying to find a way out or anything like that. It seems like Christie has been kind of within the rules. So I guess we'll see if she experiences any kind of faster healing, maybe. That's a good point. We got Strega for 125. Thank you so much, Strega. Either aliens or supernatural for me. They are leaning to the supernatural, though. I'm excited to see Henry and Victor meet. I want to hear more of Miranda. Absolutely, Strega, and I am right there with you 150%. Again, I really hope they don't kill Henry off, at least not too quick. I really want to see that reunion between him and Victor. And as you mentioned, who knows what else Henry still knows about all of this weird stuff Miranda has told her. There was so many paintings down there in the basement that even we as the audience didn't even get a chance to see. A lot of those paintings were stacked on top of stacked on top of stacked. So there's so much that she apparently was painting for Lord knows how long. So yeah, I very much hope Henry survives at least for a little while, enough to see Victor, and as you mentioned, enough to maybe give some more information that Miranda may have had. What if Henry has some kind of small key piece of information that they need to really help them start to solve this thing, maybe? So yeah. Hopefully.
Michael Dici. Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. Yeah, Michael Dici put his finger right on it, because we thought, Christie's whole role was to make people comfortable in their life there, so she wasn't breaking the rules. But he put his finger right on it. Christie dissected Smiley, and then I know Chocolate Beauty followed up right after that. That was it. That was the thing.
And she left
Christie
the town,
on Smiley. That's a good point. She left the town to go get food, so that is a good point. You guys make some very valid points there. Christie hadn't broke the rules up until then. She conducted the freaking autopsy on Smiley. So that's a really good point, Leah. Yeah, I mean, could that be construed as her breaking the rules and maybe she won't heal fast? Yeah, you guys make a good point. Yeah, that could very well be possible.
They don't want you knowing anything, not just trying to escape, but seeking further knowledge about the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want you to be comfortable.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense. I think
it's like a job. It wants you to stay in a room for 8 hours on a computer, not doing anything else. And if you
don't ask questions,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's again, I could very well see that being the case. You guys make very valid points there, Christie. Hell, she's not only did she conduct the autopsy, it was her idea. She was the one who said, "Let's cut this freaking thing open and see if we can find out some kind of answer." So yeah, absolutely. She might not heal. She might not heal fast.
She's in trouble.
She might be in trouble. She might be in trouble. Good point, guys.
She might turn turn purple, and Fatima might find her tasty.
That would be hard to explain. Walking in on that scenario,
that'd be tough. Put a whole new meaning on Cannibal Village, that's for sure. Next, we have Boyd out here in the middle of the road, and this looks like Boyd reacting to seeing the ambulance probably arrive in town, I would imagine, just based on him actually being outside in the dead of night and the look on his face. So not a whole lot there to really go on, but him looking at the again, you can see a little bit of red tint, which is probably the light on the ambulance, the tail light on the ambulance maybe. So it looks like he's probably approaching it. Then we see another shot of Boyd where it looks like he might be getting ready to pull out his gun, which is not going to do you a whole lot of good, unfortunately, unless you're trying to subdue Acosta maybe. So we see that. This is an interesting one. We see Jade and Christie in the cabin, and we see Jade taking a nice sip of a drink. We got Christie reaching out almost like she wants a sip of the drink as well. Probably. I mean, hell, I mean, I'm not a drinker myself, but if I was in Fromville with a freaking bear trap on my leg, I'd at least want a fucking shot. Give me something. So this is what I'm really looking forward to seeing. This, whatever is going to be playing out in these cabins, that is what I really want to see. Because again, we see Jade do something that, while of course it in the short term it saved Christie's life getting her out of the bear trap, who knows what kind of lasting consequences there's going to be for Jade messing with the totem.
This is a really bad idea.
There's nothing else strong enough to pry that trap open.
You really want to start pulling apart the ancient tower of holy scary shit?
I'm sure whoever built it won't mind.
Oh, Jesus. Fuck.
Whew. Yeah. Again, I get the feeling that's not going to end well. As great as it is that it saved Christie and got her out of the bear trap, messing with that totem, I think is going to have some consequences. And I know I'm not alone. I know a lot of you guys were thinking the exact same as well. What about you, Rob and Ravener? Do you think there's going to be some kind of consequence to Jade meddling with that totem? Did he potentially just unwittingly, render that entire protective barrier null and void, maybe?
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know why he's taken that beanie off her head. He should put it back on her head. But yeah, I mean, it has to have some sort of negative effects. I mean, it'll be awesome. I think it'll be really good for the story if something's crawling around that hut again at night.
Yeah. And I feel like they kind of are setting that up, aren't they? I mean, when we see Kenny and Jim at the hut in episode 1, and they clearly heard something walking around out there and even tapping on the hut. So yeah, I think they're setting something up for them to have some kind of weird. Even if I'm not really expecting any of them to really get hurt per se, they'll probably all survive. But I get the feeling they're going to at least experience some kind of strange occurrence at the very least. What about you, Raven? I think there's going to be some consequences to the totem meddling.
I have to assume so. This will only be the second night that we've seen where something happened, or where we've witnessed what goes on overnight. Are they all in the same building? I guess they all have to be in the same building to secure it with one talisman. We did get the we did get the footsteps and the strangeness that first night. I wonder, this will tell us exactly what the nature of the protection those holy towers, the holy voodoo towers, it'll tell us the nature of the protection that it provided.
The tower of holy scary shit.
Yes, the ancient tower of holy scary shit. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what they do. Again, I was talking yesterday with Spade, and he was saying that he thought maybe because they never did retrieve Eloise's body. If she got out, she never did go visit Henry, and if she didn't get out, she never came back to the town, and no body was found. They were postulating that maybe
she's surviving for the last 40 years,
like a feral girl out there, maybe for 40 years, completely, almost probably in the same mental state as
she
Victor.
Hasn't been the one who planted the food.
Exactly. And then he was also saying that there may be more than one people out there. They just kind of like receded into the woods because they didn't want to interact with anybody, because they don't know what these guys are about either. So, but
more than one hut stands to reason, more than one person. Yeah,
which begs the question: how are whether it's just Eloise by herself, or whether it's a group of people that are bunkering out in the woods somewhere, how are they going to respond to the townsfolk just plundering their cabbage, especially with the onset of winter? It almost make me want to set up a bear trap to hurt them.
Maybe. Maybe. I think something's going to happen. Something is going to happen. Yeah, I agree with Susie and everybody else in the chat that is saying it as well. Again, it might have saved Christie in the short term, but Jade should not have messed with those totems. My pretend husband, Jade, isn't doing so well. I wish I was there to console him, says Vic. Oh, shit. Christie gave Kenny the "you'll never walk alone" speech last episode, like her girlfriend was about to die. And that's why I think Christie could potentially be one of the ones who might go next. I mean, that was a very interesting line that Christie says to Kenny there. If something goes bad here, just know that you'll never be alone. You do have Boyd, because apparently Boyd even told Christie about Tien Chen's final words. So yeah, I mean, was that direct foreshadowing for Christie's death to come later on in the season? And was she prepping Kenny for that eventuality to come along, so that hopefully it doesn't break him when she does die? Don't worry, if something happens to me, you're not going to be alone kind of vibe. Could be some foreshadowing for something happening to Christie. That's definitely possible. How many totems are there? Maybe each totem protects each person around / staying in the cabin. They should try to at least repair the totem. I mean, you make a good point, Kaylee. Absolutely. At the very least, when they got done rescuing Christie out of that, they should have put the freaking totem back up at the very least. Now, I mean, who's to say they won't? Maybe they will. I get the feeling they probably won't. But they should. If they don't, put that freaking totem back up. Maybe you'll have some chance of reenacting whatever kind of protection this thing was, exuding. But I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have the the forethought, the foresight, or even if they're going to be brave enough to even touch that thing to fix it. It seems like they're all very afraid of these things, and for good reason. They're super creepy. We have no idea what they are. But in terms of how many totems there are, we're not 100% sure. When we just saw episode 1, when Kenny and Jim were walking up to the cabins, there were around 7, I believe, 7 or 8 different totems that Kenny and Jim see on their way to the cabin. But in this latest episode, it seems like there's more totems out there deeper in the forest. Even where Jade was having his vision of the person spiked to the tree, there was totems right next to there as well, right next to the weird kind of blood red stained rocks. So now there's really no accurate accounting of how many totems there are out there, because at first we only saw the ones in the town, but it seems like there's ones scattered in the forest as well. So it's really hard to tell just exactly how many totems there are. But there's a lot. There is a lot. The forest monster is going to massacre one of the cabins. Oof, maybe. Could one of these cabins potentially be in for a rough night? And if that is the case, dang well it's going to be the red shirt cabin, the one that Dale and the 2 red shirts are in. It's probably not going to be the one that Jade, Christie, and Kenny are in. They're probably going to be all right. But yeah, should not have messed with them. Should not have messed with them. Whatever came the night Kenny and Jim were there may come back, says Kiwi. Very well, could be. Very possible indeed. Jade is not superstition, so it was easy for him to destroy the totems. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, though. If anything, you would think Jade would start to get to, realize that, maybe he should have a little bit of superstition. Everything that Jade has gone through since he's been here, seeing all of these visions, seeing this symbol over and over, Jade, much like Boyd, Jade has really experienced the darker, more supernatural, nightmarish side that Fromville has to offer. So if I had experienced everything Jade did, I would be the last person touching one of those totems. But then again, Jade's not crazy superstitious, as you said. So he kind of just sees these things and thinks, his response was, whoever built it wouldn't mind, and he just does it. So no, you make a good point. You make a good point.
The one thing
But,
we will
you would
get
think
is
Jade would be smarter.
tracks. They didn't have snow last time that the thing was pounding on the thing. This time they have snow. As long as the people around there haven't chewed up the snow too much. If they get a fresh coat of snow, they'll be able to at least see that there was someone or multiple someones out there, and also be able to figure out where they went direction wise.
Yeah.
So do a little tracking.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. I mean, yeah, depending on how much fresh snow is still out there. I mean, we don't know how much they trampled around, as you mentioned. But yeah, it could at the very least potentially give them some kind of sign as to what direction the thing took off in. Like if they do hear something outside of the cabin at night, they wake up the next morning, even if it gives them a small little hint that this thing went in that direction when it departed, it could give them somewhere to follow. But would they even risk following it at that point? I imagine they'll probably just take the food and go back to the town, but it could potentially give them some kind of trail, though. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think getting Christie back has got to be the main priority. Getting Christie back to
I think so. Christie and the food. I mean, yeah, between Christie and all the food, I feel like that's going to be their priority, getting them back. I don't think they're going to be inclined to go chase after some weird phantom that they heard the night before. They'll probably be too scared to, even if the Christie situation wasn't happening, I would imagine.
Do you think that like the creature will destroy one of the cabins? And if so, do you think the others will look out the cabin door to see what it is? I would be desperate to know what is out there, but too terrified to open that door.
Yeah, you don't want to. If it's talisman secured, you keep that door closed. Somebody's gonna get shot. You tried. Somebody wants to. I don't care how curious you are. If the door is secured with a talisman and you want to open the door, you're gonna get.
You don't open it. I mean, I suppose, seeing this cabin, the way that it's built and the way that door was a little bit rickety, I wouldn't be too surprised if they could maybe, peek out of a small hole or something to maybe see what was going on without actually having to open the door. Because it seems like when they heard the knock, it almost looked like Kenny went up to the door like he was almost looking out a little hole, and then he kind of just went back and said it was gone. So if something does happen and they do hear the other cabin getting attacked, maybe we'll see some kind of small little glimpse out of like a really small, hole in the cabin window, in the cabin door or wall that maybe doesn't give them a full picture, but at least gives them the indication that something was out there, maybe. I don't know, but I hope so.
Someone said just before that maybe that taking the totem down actually let something out of the village that it's in. That would be sick. Like they wake up and they walk outside and there's like a giant hole in the ground where something was the whole time that they didn't notice. That would be fucking sick.
Shit. Okay, I like that. I mean, yeah, we're all so focused on these totems potentially protecting this town, but like you mentioned, like you guys just said, what if it's literally the complete opposite and those totems were keeping something locked in this town? Interesting. That would be really cool. That would be really freaking cool. Wow, awesome stuff, guys. I think Christie is going to die because there's a new doctor that will return with Tabitha. And again, I mean, could one of these EMTs potentially be a replacement for Christie? It's possible. It is possible. It does seem like we're at least going to lose one more person this year, and it looks like we are at least getting 2 more new arrivals to potentially replace them with some of these new people that Tabitha showed up with. So maybe.
Oh, yeah. What if they don't show us anything? Yeah, what if they don't show us anything, but they walk out in the morning and they see some like size 18 barefoot footprints?
Some big tracks, a big T-Rex freaking, yeah, a big T-Rex footprint. I mean, because I think a lot of us have been wondering just what else is out there, right? I mean, we hear this time and time again. There's worse things out here in the forest than the monsters. The monsters are just the tip of the spear. They've been foreshadowing this for a very long time, that there is much more dangerous, perilous things out here in the forest. Now, was that only referring to some of these entities and spirits that don't really have a corporeal form? Or are we actually going to see something physical, another kind of monster that does have a physical form. That is what I want to know. I want to see what other potential monsters are out there, not just the entities. The entities are cool, don't get me wrong. You know, they're very trippy and they're very hard to combat. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with the whole psychological torment that some of these entities are putting some of these characters through. But I really want to see another physical monster, something that is corporeal, that does actually have a physical being. Because I want to see what the frick else is out there. I mean, we get so many references to, tip of the spear and worse things out here than the monsters. What exactly is that? What is worse? Yeah, show us something.
Give me something. I don't know if you've seen the ritual. Give me something like the creature from that. That was dope.
Yes, something super trippy and just straight born out of evil like that. Yeah, I'd like that. That'd be cool. The spiders, a lot of people thinking that there are going to be some kind of giant spider at some point. There's a lot of foreshadowing for spiders in the show and drawings of spiders in Victor's drawings as well. Maybe that's a possibility. Sasquatch or Bigfoot if they see giant footprints in the snow. Maybe, Angela. Maybe we got good old Yeti is on his way. Maybe. I can't wait. I really can't wait to see what else is out there. Giant spiders, dragons, trolls. Who knows? Says Woodrow. Right? Even the Mothman. Maybe it's a freaking Mothman out there. Hell yeah! I could dig some Mothman action. Yeah. Hell yeah.
There's a lot of sweaters, man. Hydra sweaters. If there's a Mothman.
I want to see more. I definitely want to see more. Again, these entities, these other weird spirit kind of beings that are out there, they're very intriguing and they're super dangerous and scary in some instances, but I want to see something physical. Yeah, I mean, a monster that hunts monsters, says Way of the Kodiak. That would be interesting. A monster that hunts the other monsters. Hell yes. Give me something like that. Give me something like that.
Imagine if one of those, I don't even know what they're called, the guys that come out at night, the monsters, and imagine if one of them just gets murked by a bigger monster.
The nightmare creatures.
Sick.
Yeah, right? Some other more badass monster comes around and just takes it out. Hell yes, give me that freaking scene. Or this, the thing that dragged Boyd and Sarah's tent. We still have no idea what that thing was, but as we mentioned earlier, we got 2 references to what was dragging the tent in episode 1 this season alone. It feels like they're reminding the audience that aspect of the show is still out there. Hopefully they're prepping us for getting some kind of answer. Maybe we will finally find out what was dragging that dang tent. Because whatever was dragging the tent definitely didn't seem to be a monster. The talisman that was hanging up in that tent did not stop what was ever dragging that tent. If whatever was dragging that tent, if they wanted to kill Boyd and Sarah, it looks like they easily could have killed both Boyd and Sarah if they wanted to. And the talisman didn't seem to stop that thing. That's why I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards whatever was dragging that tent might not have been trying to harm Boyd and Sarah, and might have been trying to just get them closer to the lighthouse. Because after the tent gets dragged, they're suspiciously very close to the lighthouse the next morning, close enough that the light from the lighthouse is beaming down on the tent when the tent is done being dragged. So I'm not 100% sure that whatever was dragging the tent was meaning harm. I wouldn't be too surprised if that was something trying to get them closer to the lighthouse for some reason. And then for some reason they don't, and obviously they don't end up making it there because, nighttime comes and the boy in white sends them into the faraway tree. But yeah, I cannot wait to see what else is going on in this show. What other kind of weird creatures and monsters are out there? Bring it on. We also have these stills as well. It looks like, again, Sarah and Victor are going to be having their little jaunt. Whatever story that Victor is going to be sharing with Sarah, it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. Again, I get the feeling we're going to get some kind of very interesting tidbit through this scene. Whatever that tidbit is remains to be seen, but it looks like Victor will uncover some kind of memory based on the synopsis, and it'll be a memory that he is going to be struggling to come to terms with. So what kind of memory is going to be triggered? What kind of reveal is Victor going to have in this episode? That is what I want to see. I cannot wait to see these Victor and Sarah scenes.
That his father died when he was a boy.
If you want to,
Oh shit!
Man. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yep, and
Man.
yeah, if you want a spoiler, it's on Scarlett's show from last night with Spade with Spade and the movie blog, and the movie blog had seen it, and he was very cagey and very good at keeping spoilers away. He said it will be satisfying, and I can't remember if it's number 4 or number 5, but something as a result of this, it will be satisfying, he said. And I think my guess was too accurate, so it was like I can neither confirm nor deny, which kind of confirms.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know.
That's why I haven't even hinted
yeah,
at it. There's a major component that I haven't even hinted to you guys because I don't want to spoil it even for you guys. Even for me, it kind of spoiled it because it kind of told me that even if I guess right, then it tells me it spoils it for me because right now I'm just guessing with no more knowledge than anybody else, but. Yeah,
maybe,
so it'll be cool.
It's gonna be a good
I wonder
scene.
how much
Should be a good scene.
I wonder how much screen time they're gonna apply to that because, like we saw, I mean, they finished episode 2 with Boyd saying, "I'm gonna trap one of these MFers," and then we got all jack shit the whole episode 3. I mean, we had him talking about it, but we didn't get anything. Yeah, I guess he does end up bunking with Randall. I thought it was kind of cool that Randall decided not to, because he was going to trade places with Randall and let Randall go into
Randall wasn't going to trade places. I knew it. I had a feeling Randall was going to not stay here with you. There's no way Randall was going to trade places with him. I had a feeling that was going to happen. But no, it's again, like you said, episode 3, not a whole lot happened in terms of Boyd and the whole talisman thing and the trap of the monster thing. We get that nice little callback to the fan theory that's been going around for a while, whether or not it's possible to trap a monster with the talisman. But in terms of him like actually going and making some plans towards it, he's pretty much in a standstill now, and he's kind of thinking it out. What is the best way to approach this kind of thing? But I'm looking forward to this scene again. I'm looking forward to some of the dialogue that Boyd and Randall are going to be having, and ultimately what they are going to see and how this whole ambulance arrival is going to play out. Because it looks like we got Randall in the back there, we got Boyd up here. We got Randall definitely staying over the night with them, which again I did have a feeling he would anyway. This is going to be good. This is going to be good, especially the history that these two characters have. They don't like each other all too much. Their interactions haven't been all too pleasant. This is going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be a really fun one. Of course, we got Kenny back in the cabins as well with Christie and Jade. And of course, we have this scene, which we have kind of been able to deduce from the season 3 trailers that this is most likely them watching Marielle here try to work on Nikki. We know that this Nikki character seems to get injured or shot or something happens, and they're going to be working on her. Are they going to be able to save her? Is, like Ravener pointed out, the fact that they're doing chest compressions definitely points to the fact that she is getting into a really bad condition here. Like maybe this injury might be a little worse than we originally thought. I thought she was going to survive originally, but after seeing those chest compressions, like you mentioned, now I'm not so sure. This Nikki chick might be toast. But I'm looking forward to seeing. And then, of course, we have Boyd in the ambulance. Again, I think a lot of us know where this scene is going. We saw a little bit of this in the season 3 trailer as well, in terms of the monster holding up the keys to Boyd saying, you're looking for these? You can't save them all. I cannot wait, guys. I cannot freaking wait. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, I think that's the last one, one of the last ones. We have Elgin seeing something that is apparently scaring the crap out of him. Whatever look on Elgin's face, he's not liking what he's seeing. Is this another dream he is having? Is he seeing the weird Komodo monster spirit again? Or is he seeing something else? Is this some new kind of vision? And we notice he's still got the dang crow shirt on right after the crow incident. So what is going to be going on with Elgin? And then the last few are just Boyd inside Colony House. We got Ellis inside Colony House. We got a better shot of some of the weird drawings on his pants. Look a little bit to be like trees and birds or some weird shit. And then we have Donna inside Colony House as well to top it off. And that is all of the stills, the pre-release stills for episode 4. But man, guys, again, episode 3 definitely seemed to be like it was a little bit more of a setup episode, but it looks like it was setting up some very cool and interesting scenes that we are going to be getting in episode 4. But one thing we like to do here before we always close it out, I definitely want to hear from each and every one of you guys. after having had a little chance to watch it or marinate on it a little bit more, where do you guys rate episode 3 on a scale from 1 to 10? 1 being horrible, 10 being perfect. Where do you guys rate episode 3 overall? Has it changed, or are you at a similar score from the other night, Ravener?
Well, no, I went on, and I reserve the right to adjust upward. I always start out a little low and then go upward.
Absolutely.
The night of, I had said in Discord voice chat that I was going to give it a 6 and stuck with that. And I've kind of talked myself, I've kind of softened a little bit, and I'm going to move it up to a 7. Actually, I was really turned off by the high intensity kind of overacting. Everybody's yelling at each other, but then you make an allowance for that. You make an allowance that, everybody's getting the screws tightened on them in one way or another, whether it's Jim, whether it's Boyd, Donna, you name it. Fatima, there were some very key scenes, some good stuff. It was a kind of a holding pattern in a lot of ways. It was moving pieces into place for greater things to come. I'm really digging Dark Fatima, especially calling out crazy baddie Tilly shtick. I love that. So yeah, I think that merited moving up from a 6 to a 7. I'll stick with 7 on this one.
Okay. 7 avocados out of 10. That is not a bad score. Still a passing grade by any metric. Absolutely. What about you, Rob? Where do you put episode 3 on a scale from 1 to 10?
I'm going to be really harsh because I loved the first 2 episodes and gave them really high scores. And I was expecting stuff to really kick off this episode, and it just didn't for me. It just felt like it built up for a banger episode, and then it kind of just plateaued and dropped off. So I'm going 6.5
next week and not this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. So I'm going 6.5.
Okay, no, that's still fair. Still a respectable score. It's still a passing grade, even if it's only a D. Still a pass. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Yeah, I gave it originally, I think, a 7.5, and I part of me wants to drop it down to a 7, but I do like some of the foreshadowing that they have been doing, so I'm going to stick with 7.5. I'm going to keep my original score, 7.5 for episode 3. I gave episode 1 a 9.5. I gave episode 2 a 9, and I'm sticking with those. And yeah, 7.5 for episode 3. But I do really feel like episode 4 is going to be a very good episode. Again, it definitely looked like they were setting up some pretty interesting pieces for episode 4 to be a pretty good one. So yeah, I cannot wait for this one. Bring it on. Jinjin is giving it a 9 out of 10. Awesome, respectable score. Solid 9 out of 10. Yeah, love that. Love that. Laura Butler is giving it a 7. Awesome. Very respectable. Vic giving it a 6. We got another 7 in the chat from Michael. We got a 7 in the chat from Chocolate Beauty. A 6.5 from Kiwi Skirt. We got an 8 from Angela. A 7 from Sharon. Awesome. Laura went from 6 to a 7. Okay. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. See, it's nothing wrong with raising or even lowering your scores, especially after you go and had a chance to watch these episodes, 2 or even 3 times. Nothing wrong with adjusting the scores. Raven and I do it all the time. Because you never know, that's why it's very beneficial to watch these episodes at least twice. You're always going to catch some things in the background you didn't catch the first go around. And not only that, it just gives you more context for what the actual episode was trying to do as a whole. And this one was very much a setup episode for things to come later on.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me is, even if I'm like, if there's something rubbing me the wrong way on the first watch, it takes me a day or two, sometimes a couple of rewatches to really put my finger on exactly what it is. And then I have to decide, okay, that now that I've identified what it is that I didn't like, is it just me, or is it like something, does it merit knocking down a full point on a scale? And sometimes it's just like, okay, I didn't dig it, but I understand where they're going with it and why it's there. I can't really fault them for it. So yeah.
I felt like the first 2 episodes, like that, they were good. Like you watched them, you're like, yeah, that's good. I got my fix. I'm satisfied. I can think about it and really get into it. But this one, like, as soon as it finished, I'm like, I need another episode because that did not satisfy me.
No, I felt the same way. I felt all right, man, because again, it did really feel like it was kind of just not just, but it did feel like a lot of it was set up for episode 4. So yeah, I kind of had the same feeling. I'm like, all right, shit, bring on episode 4 now, because I know this next one's going to be another banger. But we got some nines in the chat.
I've got a question for you when you're ready, Jeremy, too.
All right. Awesome. We got a 9, another 9 in the chat. We got a 7.5. We got an 8 from Quan. We got a 5 from Tiffany. Hey, nothing wrong with a 5. Nothing wrong with a 5. We got an 8 in the chat. We got a 7 in the chat. We got another 8. So we got some decent scores going around overall. Awesome stuff. Seems like people are enjoying the season overall as a whole up until this point, which is really good to see. 8.5 from Howdy. We got a 6 from Kaylee, a 7 from Wild Marjoram, a 7.5 from Jason. Next week's going to be a 10. It might be.
I think it has to be, doesn't it? Like with this one, the next one has to be a banger.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
And I think it will be. I do think it's going to be a really, really good one. We got a 6 from Chosen One. We got a 6 from Thickly. Awesome stuff, guys. Tim is giving it a 7 still. Okay, respectable. Got 8.5 from Michael. Move the plot forward. What else would you expect them to do? Again, every once in a while you need to have episodes like this. You can't have every single episode be like they are in episode 1 and 2. You need sometimes to have an episode like this where you take a breather, slow down a little bit, and yes, set some things up for the plot to continue in later episodes. So yeah, I was totally fine with this episode being a little bit more set up and kind of moving some things along for later dates. I loved it. Again, 7.5 is it's still a high score for me. I don't really ever give out 10s personally. 10s are a very big rarity in terms of me, how I score things. I very rarely give out a 10. But no, 7.5, for me, a 7.5 is an episode that I did really enjoy. Again, I liked it, definitely liked it. So awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Great scores.
And everybody's staying in. It seems like everybody's in a range. I mean, there's some outliers high and outliers low, which is cool. And that's the thing. We always love it if people vote higher. That means you're enjoying it. That's why would we ever be unhappy that somebody's enjoying the show? That's
but if you're not enjoying it and you give it a 3 or 4 or 5, that is totally cool too. Whatever you guys are actually feeling, that is what we want to see. If you hated the episode, then give it a 1 or a 2 or a 3. That is totally cool. We just want to hear from you guys. If you liked it or didn't like it, that is totally cool.
And I've seen in the chat some of the rationale. I mean, some people felt that too much was revealed in the trailers, and so for even like episode 1. So, and I think I rated episode either 1 or 2 at 10. I think it might have been 1 was like a 9 and 2 was a 10. But yeah, I could totally see that if that really bugged you, if you felt that you saw the whole episode in the trailer, I could definitely understand somebody downvoting it on that basis.
Yeah, the trailers, I mean, and I'll be the first to admit, sometimes the trailers reveal a little bit too much, and not even just the trailers, sometimes just the stills that they released. Before this episode dropped, MGM dropped a picture of the bracelet before the episode even dropped. So coming into the episode, we already knew Tabitha was going to find this bracelet in the real world. Massive spoiler for them to drop before the episode even comes out. So I do kind of scratch my head every once in a while at some of the things that MGM chooses to release before an episode even comes out. It's like, come on, save that stuff for in the episode. Let us experience that stuff as it comes along. Going into that episode, knowing we were going to see that bracelet, kind of cheapened the episode a little bit for me. Not the episode, but it definitely cheapened that scene. Like if we didn't see that ahead of time, that would have been such an awesome reveal for us. We would have been watching the episode, then we see Tabitha just find another one of these freaking bracelets. That would have been such a cool reveal to save for inside the show. So that would be my only small critique I have for MGM, because I think MGM is absolutely killing it in the way that they are running the show and the way that they are, very much listening to the fans, respecting the fans. There's great interaction between the actors and creators and the fan base, which is so awesome to see. That would be my only very, very small constructive criticism, is maybe don't reveal too much before the episode drops. Because again, that bracelet was a pretty big reveal to see that before the episode came out. But again, I am loving where the show is going. Overall, based on these first 3 episodes, we still got 7 more to go. So I get the feeling we're going to have some pretty definitive answers by the time this season ends. But just based on these first 3 episodes so far as a whole, I would definitely already put season 3 at like an 8.5, overall, just going for the season overall after these first 3 episodes. I imagine that will probably even go up by the time we're done with this whole season. But yeah, I cannot wait for episode 4. And I guess that will be one of my final questions for everybody in the chat and for you guys. What scene or what storyline are you looking forward to seeing the most in episode 4? For me, again, I think it's got to be this Victor and Sarah scene. I can't wait to see what's going to be happening there. Ravener, is there a scene or a storyline you're looking forward to seeing most?
Well, I predicted yesterday because Tilly, before they got interrupted by the crow, Tilly and Fatima were doing the, is my baby okay tarot card reading. We didn't see what the results were. She turned 2 cards, and then all hell broke loose. My prediction is that we're going to see a cleanup scene where there's broken glass, blood on the walls, people are mopping up or whatever incidentally, and then the camera is going to pan over and it's going to show the 2 cards, at least the 2 that have been turned up. I asked the people that know, tarot, what do the first 2 cards in a 4-card spread indicate in context of a question like, is my baby going to be okay? And I don't know. I don't know that I got a satisfying answer about that. But so we'll see what happens when we actually see the cards. What they actually see.
Which one to flip over.
Yeah. So I want to see more of creepy rot eating Fatima and the demon baby.
Nice. What about you, Rob? Is there one scene or one storyline you're looking forward to in episode 3?
It's got to be when Victor sees his dad, because I really want it not to be his dad, just because that would be awesome. But yeah, it's got to be that, man. I want to see that. But that leads to my question for you, Jeremy. Have we seen who is the man in yellow, and have we seen them yet?
Ooh, me personally, I don't know if we have seen the man in yellow on the show yet. Part of me is really hoping that the man in yellow will be a character that has yet to be revealed. But no, some people think that we may have already seen the man in yellow. And I know some people, I believe you might be among them, Rob, mentioned that maybe even Henry might be the man in yellow.
He does live in a yellow house.
He does live in a yellow house. I mean, this is very true. I don't know. I mean, again, part of me is really hoping that painting of the man in yellow is going to be a character that will be revealed on the show at some point. But like you said, maybe it's somebody we've already seen. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, maybe it's Boyd. As Susie says, Boyd's wearing a lot of yellow all the time with those freaking unlimited number of shirts he seems to have. Who knows? Who knows? But no, I hope it's going to be a character that we haven't seen yet, and maybe even a little bit more of a villainous character. When I first saw the man in yellow, I thought, okay, could this potentially be the antithesis to the boy in white? We got the boy in white and we have the man in yellow. Could these potentially be 2 opposing sides to whatever the heck is going on here in Fromville? That was kind of the first thought. And then I also thought of the king in yellow when I saw the man in yellow as well. And then when you think about the story, the king in yellow, there's so many similarities between that story and everything we're seeing here in Fromville. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a wink and a nod to that maybe. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what the heck this man in yellow is. Part of me is really hoping it's going to be some kind of opposite to the boy in white, though. Maybe the boy in white's rival or nemesis or opposite, yin to yang kind of thing, maybe. But I can't wait to see. I cannot wait to see. But there you have it, folks. We are getting closer and closer now. Seems like a lot of people are looking forward to Victor and Sarah in the fort as well. Absolutely, Tiffany. Right there with you. Right there with you as well. Really looking forward to that scene. And I'm also looking forward to the scene of Boyd and Randall in the bus as well, and kind of see how all of that plays out. And then, as Ravener mentioned, we got this very interesting, ever-evolving case of Fatima and this monster or not monster baby. And now that Tilly's involved, the tarot cards, like a lot of interesting stuff going on here, guys. I cannot wait to see where episode 4 takes us. We, of course, will be live Saturday night, diving into all things Fromville, and we will be doing even more episode 4 predictions. So definitely come back and hang out with us this Saturday for our episode 4 pregame show. And then Sunday night, we will be doing our live watch party right here on the channel of episode 4, entitled There and Back Again. So definitely come back and hang out with us. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a stream this Friday or not. If I do, it'll probably be a little bit of a shorter one. But I do believe that Dana and Scarlett are hosting a watch party in our Discord this Friday night. There should be a pretty fun Halloween watch party directly in the Jeremy Ice and Fire Discord. So regardless of whether or not I do a stream or not, if I do, it'll be at a different time than the watch party, obviously. But if not, at the very least, we will be having an awesome Halloween watch party in the Discord hosted by Dana and Scarlett. They got some interesting stuff that they are going to play. I am looking forward to it. And we will definitely be doing our yearly Halloween movie-thon watch party as well. Once we get a little bit closer to Halloween, though, I think I'm going to save mine for probably the week of. But like we do every year, we will be putting out a poll for you guys to vote on of a bunch of classic public domain horror films, and whatever one you guys vote on, that will be the subject of our Halloween movie night watch party. And again, when I'm getting ready to put out that poll, I will let everybody know, at least a week ahead of time, so you guys know when the watch party is actually happening, and you'll have plenty of time to vote on the poll. It'll be up in the Discord and up on the YouTube community page. You guys can vote either or, and let us know which classic horror movie that you guys want to see. We got a lot of really good public domain horror movies to choose from, and these are movies that we can watch right here on stream on YouTube. We don't have to do a Discord watch party or anything like that. I can play them right here, right on screen, right on YouTube, because they are public domain, thankfully. So be on the lookout for that as well. And yes, Hell House will be playing this Friday in the Discord, so definitely come and hang out for that watch party. And again, if I do a little pregame or after game stream on Friday night, I will definitely let everybody know ahead of time. But either way, if not, Saturday and Sunday, we will be back like we always are, diving into all things Fromville. So big thanks to everybody for joining us tonight. You guys have been just incredibly supportive, to us, everything we're doing here, whether it's here, the Discord, the entire From fandom as a whole. You guys know how I feel. You guys have been so freaking awesome. I cannot thank you all enough for all of the support. And a big thank you to everybody who came out tonight and shared their thoughts and opinions on this incredibly strange show that keeps throwing us for a loop. But until next time, stay safe out there in this crazy, crazy world we find ourselves in. Don't be afraid to throw on that tinfoil hat, guys. Dive into that rabbit hole, see where it takes you, and we will see you on the next one. Talisman's up.